Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and it is going to be a great UFO show for you tonight. Daniel Harary is here. He's from the wowsignal.news, the wowsignal.news. It's a new website about news and columns and everything in UFOs. It's going to be a great show for you tonight, and you're going to learn a little bit from Dan as well. But the best part about tonight, we have each and every one of you. Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position, race fan with a silver, Mel WD-40 lubing us up from the bronze medal possession tonight. Paramarv, how are you doing? Bert Hollix, welcome back as we continue on with our roll call. David Nornberg, thank you for joining us. Hi there, Bar Madison and Robert Lamoth. Tim Mothman and his goatee, two separate entities. Good to have you here. Little Cam on YouTube. Yep. Did 58 push-ups in 18 seconds. His arms are jacked for tonight. Just jacked. All right. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, how are you? Soccer Satan, nice to see you. Ethanol, good to have you here. Little Timmy James, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. And JMJ12 is here. JMJ12 will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Hi there, Charlene Williams. Welcome to SOR Chat. Jose Sanchez, good to see you, my friend. Moody Mongol is here. Moody Mongol will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Number 34 in your program, starting in goal tonight from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Gory Tiger, nice to see you. Operation Shutdown. Digger Dog, good to have you both here. As we continue on with our roll call, Millennium, my man. What in tarnation? Nice to see you both here. All right, scrolling on down, there's Hippie Deidre and her Birkenstocks. Good to see you. Hi there, Carol Mario and Undead Jed, along with Kurt M. Nice to have you all here. Nobody on X, how you doing tonight? Welcome. Hi there, Bill Sardellis. Algaray over on Twitch, 3,500 standing calf raises in 6 minutes to get ready for Daniel tonight. He's warmed up. He's jacked. He's ready. Good morning, Skip to Malou, and the lovely and talented and one of my favorites, Katie Page, in the chat room tonight. We love you, Katie. I hope you're having a great, great night. Matthew Goodka, thank you for joining us. Emperor Penguin, good to see you. Tommy Cavello, good to have you here. Hi there in the studio. And Ozzy, Jaquetta, how are you tonight? I'm Hardcore over on X. Nice to see you as we continue on with our roll call here. Cosmic Joe, thank you for joining us. Warden Dragon, nice to see you. Pam Harris, good to see you here. Truth Wave Energy, how you doing tonight? Hope you're having a good night. I hope you enjoy this show. Alex Sanchez, nice to see you. And, well, there's Daniel Harary in the chat room right there. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, cool. He's in two spots at once. Rock and Rory, nice to see you as we are caught up in our roll call so far, except for Arizona Raven. We haven't mentioned Arizona Raven yet. Welcome to SOR Chat. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that bell if you wouldn't mind. Kevin Kennedy, nice to see you. And let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to take a look at UFO news all night long from the wowsignal.news, the website, the wowsignal.news. Daniel Harary is going to join us. We're going to talk about the importance of UFO news, the big stories, experiences, and everything in between. We're going to have a great show for you tonight coming up in about 45 seconds time. Want to mention to everybody on our YouTube side, the Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can shop at our store and be proud of what you're wearing. In roll call, we say hello to Monica and Brooke Michelle. Good evening to you, ladies. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. We are 10 seconds away from launching this bad boy. This is going to be a great show for all of you tonight. I hope you enjoy. Thank you for over 10,000 people watching our videos. Horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods. We're together, friends. Oh. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing show coming up tonight from the wowsignal.news. Daniel Harary is going to join us. We're going to talk about all the amazing news coverage that is coming out recently in the UFO world, because we don't UAP around here. Well, maybe some of our guests do, but the host doesn't, damn it. The host does not. Then in hour number 3, it's a busy one. Why? Well, Swamp Dweller will kick things off. Little Timmy James will be here for the UFO report. It's Dave 101 night, and it's the weird news of the week. So let's kick things off. Launched in early 2025, the Wow Signal News Service was conceived by Dan Harary, a 40-plus year veteran Hollywood publicist, and Anjuli Harary, creative director, Different Drum Media. Having worked with thousands of clients working across every conceivable field since the early 1980s, Dan was able to translate the idea of distributing press releases for the Hollywood community into a new distribution service by which UAP, UFO, ET, paranormal consciousness, and personal transformation newsmakers, experiencers, and experts would have some ability to disseminate their news to tens of thousands of targeted media outlets, individuals, and everywhere around the world. It's simple, it's effective, and it's getting the job done. And I love it. I do. And I'm excited that Spaced Out Radio is, being a part of this. So you can check us out there as well. Dan Harary, it is great to have you on Spaced Out Radio, my friend. How you doing?
Hello, David, my brother. How are you? You know what's so funny? In the last 10 minutes, you've pronounced my name three different ways.
Well, I'm a professional journalist that way, my friend.
You have all your bases covered. Dan Harary rhymes with Ferrari, the car. That's how I remember it, Dave. So Dan Harary, that's how I remember.
Nobody ever told me that.
Oh, I should have told you. But no, it's fine. And my daughter is Anjuli. She's a gifted artist, a graphic artist and brand expert. She and I, like you said, we co-created the Wow Signal News. we launched in mid-March, and I could give you a little background if you'd like about it.
I'd love it. I was going to ask you that anyways.
Okay. The background is, and thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it. 2 years ago, I wrote my book called After They Came, right back here, my baby, my UFO book, baby, After They Came, 2 years ago, was published in March 2023. While I was promoting that book, I met, as you know, David, I met Stephen Bassett. Steve Bassett and I became very, very good friends. And in March, April, May of 2023, we met and we came up with the idea for the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. As you know, you are a member of that. And we can talk about that in a second as well. And I asked Stephen, I said, Steve, I've been a Hollywood publicist for 40 years. Where do people now? Steve Bassett is, you have to admit he's in the mix, man. I mean, he's right. He has the pulse of what's going on in this field in a big way. I mean, his best friend is Danny Sheehan. I mean, Okay, so I said, Stephen, where do people go for breaking news or experiencer news or UAP photos or the latest scientific breakthroughs? Where do people go? What media outlet do people go to in your world, Stephen? This is 2 years ago. One central news source where everybody can put their, populate their news. So all of us around the world, ufologists, I consider myself a 20-year student of ufology. I love the word ufology. To me, that word explains exactly the people that I'm dealing with. We are ufologists. You are a ufologist, my friend. So Stephen said, well, every now and then there's the New York Times. Okay, but that's like lightning hitting, your house, right? And then there's the Debrief. Okay, they do a lot of good work at the Debrief. A lot of it is on the scientific side of the aisle. And then, George Norrie's website, Jimmy Church's website, you guys, the bigger podcasters, but there's no, David, there's no one central source, really, that I could think of, right? So that was 2 years ago. So for 2 years, and this is true, I had in my head for 2 years, I need to create a news destination for all of us. We're all in the same boat and we're all paddling. I hope most of us. There's a lot of politics I have discovered in the last 2 years of people working across sections against each other. But most of us are paddling the boat, I think, in the same way. And the same way would be capital D disclosure. Okay, and we can talk about that too, because I don't think that's going to happen. But for 2 years, I'm like, I need to create this. So I had it in my head. I was kicking it around. And then it took me a long time. I came up with the name of it. At first, it was going to be disclosurewire.com, which is something Steve Bassett tried to do about 5-6 years ago. And he and a partner had that URL, disclosurewire.com. The guy who owns it wanted like $5,000. And I said, screw that, man. I'm not spending $5,000 for 2 words. So I said, I have to come up with something really that'll instantly catch people's imagination. And I thought of the wow signal. Now, do you want to, I mean, I'm sure your people know what the real wow signal was. Should we discuss that a little bit, maybe?
Sure. Well, we're riding down the road. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So I came up with the wowsignal.news as a news source for you, for Danny Sheehan and Steve Bassett and Paul Hynek and Nick Pope and Richard Dolan and my brother Ron Janix from Contact in the Desert. I mean, and we launched in the middle of March and we've run news from, it's been remarkably successful, everyone you could think of. But the original wow, this is very interesting. I'm going to tell you something that I figured out recently, Dave. It's going to blow your mind, okay? Because that's why I'm here. In August 1977, a guy named Jerry Ehman, E-H-M-A-N, was a scientist, astronomer at Ohio State University. He had a huge, giant radio telescope looking in the sky for whatever. And he got an anomalous 72-second long signal from outer space. And it ran through his computer, and the computer spit it out on a sheet of paper. It was 6 alphabetical letters and numbers in sequence 6. It was such a remarkable anomaly. And Dave, you know this, but maybe some of these people here don't. He took a red pen and he circled the column, the vertical column, and he wrote, "Wow," WOW exclamation point. He wrote that because I believe that signal hasn't happened again, that particular gigahertz, whatever it was. So he called it the wow signal. It became very, very famous. People still debate to this day whether it was space junk or just noise and meteors traveling. But many, many people think it was a dedicated, intelligent signal. Okay. That was August 77. Now, I just discovered this recently. In fact, my mother pointed this out to me, Dave. This is going to blow you away. August 77, the real life wow signal happened. Okay. December 77, 5 months later, a little movie came out you may have heard of called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Now, I jumped ahead a little bit. When I launched the Wow Signal news site in March, a gentleman from Greece wrote to me. He said, "Dan, I'm a UFO researcher. I'm also a scientist, and I'm also a musician." Listen to this. He goes, "I put the 6 letters and numerals from the wow signal. I created them as a piece of music. I created it as a piece of music." He goes, "It's a piece of music. It's on my Wow Signal website. If you go to the wowsignal.news, about us, one of the drop downs is called, sorry, I have a cold, is called About the Historic Wow Signal. I play the tune. It's a beautiful little melody. Okay, now we come back to Close Encounters. What's the most famous thing about Close Encounters?
The music.
Da, 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 right?
Right.
A musical tune, right? David, this is 5 months after the real wow signal happened. Now, I have a theory, and I'm sure it's way off, but because Spielberg, we all know Spielberg is on the inner track. We all know this. He has the insight. He has the inner lane. Dr. J. Allen Hynek was his science advisor on Close Encounters. We all know this. What if Hynek and Steven, what if they knew that the wow signal was a piece of music and they popped that into Close Encounters to say, hey, when they come, and they are going to come, perhaps they will communicate to us with music. How cool is that? Is that just not the greatest?
That's very cool. It's a little bit more than coincidental.
The only thing really that negates it, because I work in Hollywood, when you do a big Hollywood movie like his movie, that probably took a year and a half, at least a year and a half of to finish the script, to shoot it, to do the post-production, to do the visual effects. It had to have taken a year and a half. He had to have had those musical notes in mind, right? Early on, because remember the little boy Barry? Remember he's playing on that little xylophone. Remember? But if Spielberg knew that means he really, really has an inside track on this whole thing. That's just a side thing, but I find anything Spielberg does, and I met him. I spent an afternoon with him once. I find anything that this man does remarkable. You know, his next film is called Disclosure. Dave?
Yes, I do know that. Yes.
Okay. So I have a piece. In fact, it's on this week's wowsignal.news. I wrote an article called The Latest Details About Steven Spielberg's new film, Disclosure. I wrote an article about that based on research, if you'd like to read it. It comes out next year. Emily Blunt is the star. No one knows the formal storyline. But the fact that Steven Spielberg is doing a movie called Disclosure is a big deal. Now, I was having lunch with my friend Steve Bassett in LA that day when it was announced on our phones. Spielberg's movie, it's called Disclosure. I was at my local deli with my brother, Steve Bassett. David, he got out of his chair with a phone. Dan, Steven Spielberg's new movie is called Disclosure. You never saw a 78-year-old man. He was doing like a horror. He's like doing a dance. You never saw a happier man. He was like a little boy at Christmas. He goes, Dan, we did it. We did it. Spielberg disclosure. I go, okay, let's see, right? Don't get your horses. Don't count your chickens before they're hatched, Stephen. So he was thrilled. Another interesting thing is, I'm all over the place tonight, man. Jerry Bruckheimer. Jerry Bruckheimer is a very, very, very famous Hollywood producer. He did the Top Gun movies, the Bad Boy movies. He did Armageddon. He did a lot of very, very, I think, maybe Independence Day. A lot of huge movies. Jerry Bruckheimer is working with Dave Grush as a science advisor on a new film coming out next year called The Dish. The Dish. So we have a Spielberg movie next year, and we have a David Grush movie next year. What the hell's going on, Dave? That's pretty big.
I find it interesting, too, how they're all kind of moving towards Hollywood. But you know what, Dan? The one thing that I would say, and it's very weird because I look at this from a radio perspective.
Sure.
Our type of programming, our type of reporting, it is one of the largest selling topics in North America, if not the world. And it's amazing that more radio stations, more television stations, and more newspaper outlets do not see what this is all about. Coast to Coast AM for 30 years, first with Art Bell and now the great George Norrie, okay? There's a reason why they're getting 8 million listeners a night, which is huge in the market.
Huge.
Okay. And it's amazing that other broadcast mediums have never tried to duplicate it. And it surprises me because it's proven, like, outside of the 9/11 papers, the biggest New York Times seller is the Ralph Blumenthal, Leslie Kean, Helene Cooper article.
Right. I would believe that. Yes.
And yet there was no follow-up. Well,
the new kid on the block, so to speak, who I had the honor of hanging out with at Contact in the Desert this year, 1 month ago, Ross Coulthard. Nicest guy, Dave. I don't know if you've met him. Nicest man in the world. Super, super nice. Humble, calm, intelligent. I spent some time with him. He gave a lecture about how he loves to come to the United States because here, the people that he meets with here in the U.S. respect him and admire him. He said in Australia, where he's from, and this is a quote, and I can't do an Australian accent, but he said, when I'm in Australia, people treat journalists like something that they stepped in and scrape off the bottom of their shoe. He goes, they hate me there. He goes, that's why I love coming to America. Very humble, sweet guy. But he got the Grush interview before, and I think before Grush testified, right? So, and he did Jake Barber a few months ago. That was a good one too. Ross Coulthard is and George and people like you. There's lots of really good people like you. There's quite a few. Jeff Mara is a friend of mine. Jimmy Church is a friend of mine. But the people that are slowly and steadily, year after year, sharing real information, not the BS. Can we say bullshit on your show?
Not really, but you did.
BS. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. To not share BS, but real information, facts, the latest out of Washington, new books. Richard Dolan put out a book in March about USOs. He's going to have 2 more sequels to that book later this year, he told me. Platforms like yours and Ross and George and Jimmy Church, they're important. And if the disclosure movement continues to propel, in my opinion, the way it's been going the last few years, there will be more. However, even now, when CNN did a piece about Contact in the Desert, I'm in it. I'm actually in the piece. It aired 3 weeks ago. It's on CNN online. It ran 3 weeks ago. They're making fun of experiencers. They're making fun of people like me. I'm an experiencer. They had a tongue-in-cheek approach, CNN. So we are not there yet, man. People still X-Files music, Little Green Men, yeah, sure, aliens, yeah, sure. But it's a lot better than it was. The article that you said, that opened the door. That opened the door to the modern era of where we are now. More people are, even my mother's 90 years old. My mother asked me what's going on with disclosure. She'll be 91 in October. My mother, God bless her. So it's sort of hit a consciousness level. Oh yeah, I heard something, Congress something, UAPs, JFK, it's becoming more and more pronounced. And people like my brother, Steve Bassett, and my friend, Danny Sheehan, year after year, and Richard Dolan and Nick Pope, and these guys, Paul Hynek, year after year, they're like, hello. I hope Steve, honest to God, and this is personal, Steve Bassett is 78 or 79 years old. He's 10 years older than me. I hope he lives to see disclosure. No one deserves to live to see that day, capital D disclosure, more than him. The problem is, this is my opinion, we can talk about this, I don't think President Trump, the new Pope, the King of England, Putin, Netanyahu, or anybody else is racing to reveal capital T disclosure. I do not think it's going to happen that way. I have a lot of people who do not think it's going to happen this way. I spoke to Don Ecker last week, who was with UFO Magazine for 20 years. He said there's no way on earth official disclosure is going to happen. He goes, this is absolutely not going to happen. So a lot of us, my group's called the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. We're trying to propel Hollywood disclosure forward through the media, TV, TV shows, feature films, documentaries, and even books. But you can yell and scream for year after year after year and still not get rescued. And I've become, since Contact in the Desert, I've become kind of downhearted, David, about the capital T disclosure. I personally don't see it's coming anytime soon.
I would agree with you on that, to be blunt. And that's is why, for the last couple of years, Dan, I have been very emotional about the idea that we are not in a disclosure movement. We are in a confirmation movement, because confirmation is safe. They don't have to give up secrets for confirmation. And I think the word disclosure with the capital D has been thrown around way too much in the last 7-8 years, to no fault of anybody out there, whether it's somebody who I respect, your friend Stephen Bassett, I like to call him a friend too, or many others regarding that. But I think we have forgotten the real true definition of disclosure. Disclosure means open the door to everything. It's not filled with yeah buts. Yeah, but we can't show you that. Yeah, but we can't give up that news. Disclosure means tell all. And that is what I don't think we will ever get. And it's a shame, as we got about a minute to go here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. It's a shame that it is going down that road, but we can't keep coloring it as disclosure when they're not going to give us anything. They're not going to tell us what happened at Roswell. They're not going to tell us what happened at other crash retrievals or what they've recovered. They can't.
David, there's no gain. There's no gain, right? What would Trump or the King or the Pope, what is their gain? Yes, extraterrestrials exist. We've known about it since 47, if not before. We have bodies, we have craft, we have technology. All it is going to be an S-word storm, all hell is going to break loose. Everyone's going to sue everybody else. Where's the free technology? Where's the free energy? How come you never told us this? How dare you? Everyone's going to sue everybody else. It's going to go back to Truman. Harry Truman, we could do this on the other side of the break. Harry Truman, July 8th, 1947, day one of the truth embargo. Day one of the truth embargo, Harry Truman. He created it, and everyone since that day, whoever runs Majestic 12 now is still running that thing.
Dan Harary. I got your name right. Dan Harary from the wowsignal.news. We're going to continue the UFO talk with Dan, his website, the wowsignal.news. Once again, make sure you check it on out. We'll be right back, everybody. All right, Dan, we're clear.
Okay, cool.
All right. Hello to Necessary Dialogue. And hello to Christopher Sean. How you doing? Good to see you guys. Good start, Dan.
Thanks. Yeah, this is going in a little bit different direction than I foresaw, but I'm totally loving it. Anything.
That's why we flow it, man. We don't set it. We have a topic, and we leave it from there.
And then, yeah, right. Like you said, it flows in different directions, like a river. Because
Yep.
I'm usually very A, then I go to B, then I go to C. But to just do free form, it's called free form. That's exactly. I love this. This is awesome. I'd love to get questions from your people too. By the way,
We'll take questions for you in hour 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
In hour 2, I would like to tell you about my father,
Okay.
there's an article I wrote about him. It's on this week's Wow Signal. I have discovered who my father was and what he did for a living, David, after he died.
Oh,
And
my.
It not only does it explain a UFO sighting I had with him in 1970, it explains why I've become the Hollywood disclosure guy today. It all goes to my father. My whole disclosure career goes back to my father, and I didn't know till after he died. So it's a really, really good story.
Very cool.
Later. Yeah.
Look forward to it.
Thank you. How long is the break?
We got about another 3.5 minutes. Area 51, how you doing? J True Seeker, nice to see you. Gorgeous Kim Jellin, who is flossing her teeth as we speak. How are you tonight? Hillbilly Herb, good to see you. Benno, nice to see you. Glenn John McEnroe is here, the pride of Wimbledon. Oob to Joe's Maine. You've got aliens. Oh, 2.5 minutes, Dan.
Okay.
Paul Arona, welcome to SOR Chat. If you're new, we'd love it if you hit subscribe and ring that bell. Oh, 2 minutes.
David, you got to get your ass to contact, man. Next year.
No? I would love to, but I will politely decline. I'll tell you about that off air.
Oh, okay. Did something bad happen that I don't know about? Yeah, I think maybe something happened, huh? Yeah, tell me later.
It's an uncomfortable conversation.
Okay.
So
it was not money. It was something else.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I know.
But I love the event. I love Ron Janix. Captain Ron is amazing. I love it, the job that everybody does there. So that's about it.
I've been there 3 in a row. It was a very, very good show. Very, very good show this year.
Bombshell Bomber, how are you? What time do you usually go to bed, Dan?
Honestly, 10, but I love you like a brother, so I'm going to stay up late. And then after I finish with you, I walk my dog around the block, and then I'll pass out.
Oh, nice. What kind of dog do you have?
He is a beautiful mixed breed. He's a year and a half old. I got him from a shelter in November.
Love
never
it.
been out, never been outside, never potty trained, never been in a car, never been outside.
Hold that 1 second here. We got to get going right now. Hold on.
Taught him everything.
Here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We're going to bring back Dan Harary here momentarily from the wowsignal.news. We're talking to UFOs tonight. But first, we want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. From the wowsignal.news, a news organization strictly for paranormal, supernatural, ufological news updates from some of the best out there. We have Dan Harary. And Dan, during the break, we were talking about what kind of dog you had, and I had to cut you off because we were coming back. And now I got people in my chat room, in our live chat on YouTube, who are asking, well, what kind of dog do you have, Dan?
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay. I had a dog from 2008 to 2010, and then he outgrew my apartment, so I gave him away to a nice family. And now I just turned 69. My son is 37. He's very successful. He lives in Alaska. My daughter's 35. She's very successful. She lives down the street from me. And I'm lonely. I live alone. I work alone. I am alone. So I thought I should get a dog. So in November, I just told my daughter, I said, I'm going to go get a dog. So she came with me. We went to a shelter near downtown LA. We had seen a photo of a dog named Kirby online. We get there, we see Kirby. We fall in love with him instantly. But I didn't like the name Kirby. So on the drive home, we named him Luke. Luke as in Luke Skywalker. His nickname is Lukey. Sometimes I call him Lucas. He is a year and a half. He is a mixed breed of many, many things. Dachshund, Pinscher, Pitbull, Poodle, everything you could ever think of. When first time I took him to the vet, David, I said to the vet, I said, sir, what is he? He looked at me, he goes, I haven't the slightest idea. He is a totally unique looking dog. I have a picture of him, but I don't know how to share anything. But he's a beautiful dog. He had never been outside, never been on a leash, never been potty trained. He knew nothing. I didn't know how to do anything. I taught him everything he knows. And Lukey's my best friend.
Beautiful. I love it. And I love the fact that you rescued him from a shelter. That makes it very cool as well. Dan, let's get into the UFO topic, because right before the break, I wanted to say something to you about the wowsignal.news.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Here's why I love what you are doing. I'm going to give you a nice compliment here, and not because I'm kissing your ass due to the fact that you're on this show, but just for the fact that it's reality and it's true. There are too many individuals looking for individual dollars, looking for individual stories, looking for individual breaking news, individual ego, YouTube sizes, clickbait, followers, subscribers, you name it. We had nothing putting everything into one place. And what you have done here, I think, is a great idea, because there are so many people who listen to this show, and I've read the comments on our chat room. I've read the comments online. Said, Dave, I wish we had someplace where we could get a little bit of everything. And here's what you have put together at the wowsignal.news. And I wanted to compliment you on that, because that's no easy task. You know, there's a lot of ego in this field, from broadcasters to podcasters to YouTubers to television people. And when you try and mix them all together, you're never going to make everybody happy. But you seem to have found a way to really try and blend everybody together in a professional manner. And I wanted to compliment you on that.
That's very, very sweet and very kind. And I really appreciate it. That means a great deal to me. I am Mr. Neutral. I am friends with many, many, many different ufology people from all different paths, many of whom don't speak to each other. Many of whom don't like each other, hate each other, don't speak to each other. Everyone, and I'm not bragging, but David, everyone seems to talk to me because I'm neutral. I'm a neutral character, you know. I want to present the best news from ufologists, which means researchers, authors, filmmakers, lecturers, event producers, like my brother Ron Janix. I ran every Contact in the Desert article that we did together. I was the publicist for that, so of course that made sense. But so here's what the Wow Signal is, and maybe some of your your listeners and viewers would like to contribute. Every Monday, every Monday on the Wow Signal, we present the latest news that we are aware of, the latest UAP photos, and the latest upcoming events. And everything clicks to the website, so where you could buy tickets for an event or anything. Once a month, as in the middle of each month, like this week, we have guest columns, guest opinion columns from Stephen Bassett, myself, Ron James, the head of MUFON Television and the filmmaker of Accidental Truth, a woman named Lisa Strickland, who is a psionics expert, CJ Arabia, who's one of the new heads of MUFON Southern California, and Costa Macreas from the Bay Area. He has a group called the People's Disclosure Movement. And Dave, he's a great guy because every week he blasts out the WOW news to his 150,000 members. So he is a media partner. You are a media partner. MUFON is a media partner. I have been putting together Steve Bassett's PRG is a media partner. I'm talking to the New Paradigm Institute. I'm talking to the Soul Foundation. I'm talking to the John Mack Institute, which is going to be resurrected soon. I'm talking to the Archives of the Impossible. I am slowly, I'm like the little mouse with a big piece of cheese going up a hill, man. I'm slowly pushing that cheese. I want all of these different, disparate, sometimes competing groups to send me, not me, send the WOW Signal, me and my daughter and another lady. The three of us run it. News. Send us your news. I crave the news. I want to present the news. And guest opinion articles. Stephen just wrote about what does World Disclosure Day, what's the history of that? Next week, I'm running a piece from Danny Sheehan about how important it is that we all support the UAP Disclosure Act. FYI, David, if you don't know this, the next congressional hearing, according to Stephen Bassett, is July 26. July 26. I have that circled on my calendar. I'll be sure to be watching that day. And then I have a UAP photo of the week, which for me, that's the most fun. That's really fun. Last week, I was watching the Skinwalker Ranch show with my daughter, Anjuli. We love that show. And little Eric Barr, the science advisor on the show, freeze-framed some overhead footage that they had shot. And in this freeze frame, Dave, you got to see this, 4 crystal clear silver orbs in a row, like Mo, Larry, Curly, and Shemp. They're lined up perfectly crystal clear. We freeze framed it. I freeze framed it and put it on the WOW Signal. I didn't ask for permission. What are they going to do, sue me? It's public. It's for the public good, public knowledge. I put this week's UAP photo of the week comes from the Skinwalker Ranch TV show episode, which aired such and such. And it's great. If you go to, you can see it. It's on the homepage of the WOW Signal this week. I love news. I love being the publisher editor of this thing. I appreciate what you said to me. If you have an opinion piece about your sighting, you were just before we went on air, David, you were telling me about your sighting that you had with your colleagues out in the nearby where you live with the craft and the Greys and the Bigfoot. Write that up, brother. Write that up. Send that to me. I'll feature that. I will. So, and anyone out there, Go to the Wow Signal. There's a button. It says how you can submit your news to us. And there's a free subscribe button. Subscribe. All you got to do is click subscribe, put in your name, put in your email. Every Thursday, you'll get the newsletter. We have 700,000 people around the world getting this thing. I get lovely notes from all over the world. And it's already in 4 months, David, it's become bigger than I ever imagined.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And congratulations on your great work.
Thank you
for what you do, my friend. I do want to talk some UFOs here because there is a lot going on right now. Let's talk about the latest potential hearings. Now, I had heard that the new hearings were going to be in July, and then I heard that they were going to be moved to September, the beginning of September, maybe around September 1st. Do we need more hearings, Dan?
Honest answer. And if Steve Bassett watches this, he will kill me. Absolutely not. Here's why. David Grush, under oath for 3 hours, swore on a stack of Bibles to Congress on live TV that he knows for a fact that we, U.S. military, has craft, technology, and he didn't call them aliens. What did he call them? Biologics, right? Biologics.
Yes.
Living and dead. If that alone didn't move the needle. Okay, this is going to say it all, David. I watched that live. I had tears in my eyes. I said, wow, this guy's a hero. Okay, this guy's a hero. Think of what now, the other side of the coin is everyone has told me this. He had to get approval from the DOD to say whatever he did say. Okay, well, that's kind of like having to wear 16 condoms if you're making love to the most beautiful woman in the history of your life. You have to wear 29 condoms. But anyway, I don't know where that came from. But the next day after Dave Grush testified, I get the LA Times, I get the newspaper, newspaper. I'm old school because I'm an old Jewish man. I looked at it, man. Page 19, David, page 19 on the bottom, like an Air Force intelligence officer said there's aliens. And I shook my head and I said, man, this is not going to happen. Now, the next hearing, I know Danny and Stephen have long been trying to get people like Bob Salas. You know Bob Salas.
Yes.
And Bob Salas is a friend of mine. They've been trying to get people like him. They call them, you know this, the nuclear witnesses, the military guys who were in bunkers in charge of nuclear weapons. And there's, I think, 4 or 5 of them that are still alive. You know, Bob Salas is like 84 years old, man. God bless him.
Yes.
God bless him. I mean, if he doesn't testify before he passes away, that's a crime against nature. But Bassett and Danny, they're trying to get the nuclear witnesses. Here's I thought about this today. Bob Salas goes before Congress, let's say July 26th. Representative Luna says, Mr. Salas, you were at Malmstrom Air Force Base. A UFO turned off your missiles. Is that correct? Yes. Here's the question, Dave. This is going to kill it. Kill it, man. She's going to say, Mr. Salas, did you see the UFO? He's going to say no. Because I know the story very well. He got a call from his team up on the ground. 30 stories, whatever it was, on the ground. And they said, we have this big, huge orange craft UFO thing here. What should we do? Bob Salas never saw that UFO. David Grush never saw UFO. Right? Think about that, man. These guys were in the bunker. The UFOs were outside in the air above the military. I just thought of this today. I'm like, God, even if poor Bob Salas testifies, they're gonna. So Mr. Salas, what you're saying is this is hearsay, correct? Well, no, because I know these guys up on the top. They were hysterical, crying. What should I do? Did you see the UFO, Mr. Salas? No. So that's very, very concerning to me, because that guy's a hero and he's a personal friend of mine. I love that guy. And if he were to testify and they leveled him like that, that would be bad. It'd be not a good way for a military hero to go out and retire like that. That's not cool at all. because he didn't see it. I interviewed him on my show last year. He did not see it, and that's a big problem.
But that's the problem we have with a lot of this, is a lot of this so-called whistleblower stories are secondhand information, third-hand information. You know, it's great that they're telling the stories. We need them to tell the stories. But I can also see where people are frustrated saying, you're not giving us any evidence. You're not giving us anything rich and soulful that we could sink our teeth into and have a little taste of what is going on. And I understand why. You're not going to break an NDA. You're not going to put yourself in a position that you could go to jail or ruin your future. I mean, we tend to forget that a lot of these people, Dan, they have real life problems. They have a mortgage. They have car payments. They have families to take care of. They got pets to feed. They have credit card debt. They have absolutely everything that you and I do. And we tend to forget about that. And so when I look at it and I say, you know, they're not giving us anything, they can't. And this is where I then get into the big question. I had this question for myself a couple months ago. Are they truly whistleblowers? Because realistically, if you go to the definition of whistleblower, you could say that they are not, that they are experiencers and have great information about great topics, but a whistleblower will put themselves on the line in order to get the story out. None of them have done that, including David Grush,
And
who
Lou
I highly respect.
And Lou Elizondo.
And Lou Elizondo, exactly.
He had to get it. He had to get clearance too. Yep.
So much like the word disclosure, I think we're throwing around this word whistleblower a little bit too much, and it's clickbait. It really is.
You made a very good point. If Dave Grush and Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon and everybody have to get approval, yeah, well, I know all the secrets. Representative Luna and Jamie Raskin and all the others, and there's quite a few. You know, Tim Burchett, all the people who really want to get this information, right? They really do. I know all this information. Did you see a UFO? No. Did you talk to an alien? No. I know a guy who saw a guy who was in a tree, who lived down the street, and he was in that forest, and he saw an alien. So your question earlier was a really good one. Will more disclosure hearings make a difference? Steve Bassett will say absolutely yes, of course. I don't, unless Quagnar from Mars shows up and walks in and says, hello, I'm Quagnar from Mars. I'm an extraterrestrial. He does magic tricks. He makes people disappear and float. We're here. It's time. You imbeciles in Congress, your presidents, your kings. It's time. Now, here's what I wanted to say before the break. Chaim Ashed, I think is his name, right? Chaim Ashed, yes, from Israel. Avi Loeb from Israel and Harvard. Richard Dolan. These three men recently, all three of them recently have said that they feel the ETs, NHI, whatever these entities are, they themselves, and I totally believe this is the case, they are in charge of disclosure. They could disclose right now in 5 minutes anywhere in the world, like Independence Day. We'd all know they were there. They are not doing it. The theory goes they don't think humans are ready for that knowledge. And the more I'm reading and studying, I'm reading an article by Linda Moulton Howe about how aliens recycle souls and the different species compete with each other to get the most souls. And I'm thinking, if all this is true, it's over my head, it's over everyone's head. We're not going to be able to embrace this information. So many people, because most of ufology historically, you know this, you've heard this term, David, nuts and bolts, right? Nuts and bolts. How big was the craft? Did it have rivets? Did it have seams? The king of this, and he's a friend of mine, and I love him, Michael Schratt. Michael Schratt is the king. The king.
100% agree.
If you see his color AI rendition photos of craft, they make you cry. They're so fantastic and perfect. They're researched to the inch. He studies Leonard Stringfield, you know this. So Michael Stratt is so dedicated to getting the nuts and bolts right. If aliens are recycling souls and there's a devil and there's a supreme being God and aliens are fighting other aliens and there's a federation, it's way, way bigger than how big was that craft? Was it silver or white? Was it a V or a oval, right? That stuff is actually becoming less important if you think about it. The bigger picture is, what's their big picture? And the more I read and study, I call myself a 20-year student of ufology. I've been studying this passionately for 20 years. I know this much. There's this much to know in the world about this. I know a fraction of a pencil tip. And then when I'm with Richard Dolan and my friends, Nick Pope and Paul Hynek and these other people, Ron James, and they tell me stuff, my head spins around, David. I'm like, oh man, I didn't know about that guy. I never heard of that guy. I need to look at him. This is why it's such a fun, it is a fun topic. You must agree. Ufology is
100%.
fun. It's a fun topic.
Absolutely. We got 3 minutes to go before we have to go to break here at the top of the hour. Dan Harary is our guest tonight from the wowsignal.news. Dan, when we look at the hearings, like I just told you, the last hearing frustrated the Congress people. I believe it was Nancy Mace saying we came for answers, not a book sale, and that was in direct shot at Lou Elizondo, who kept on saying, no offense to Lou, I like Lou Elizondo, but for him to keep saying through that hearing, you got to buy my book. Maybe you should read my book. It was a cheap plug. Or Mike Gold from NASA saying, just fund us. We need funding. Why don't you fund NASA? Well, that isn't what it is about. NASA is the biggest bunch of liars in this entire field. They really are. And their joke of a study was unconscionable. $100,000 to tell us that they've never found anything at NASA when their own astronauts are on the record publicly. It's ridiculous. But Dan, how do we take that? How do we take all of these blunders and these snafus that people are making in these high-level positions and expect to take this story seriously? I need a 2-minute answer.
The 2-minute answer is a parallel story. A few months ago, Congress had the first JFK hearing, and Oliver Stone, did you see that? Because I'm a JFK person too, assassination. Oliver Stone was there were 4 speakers. Oliver Stone, deaf as a stone. He couldn't, what'd you say? Couldn't hear a thing. Our U.S. Congress has 4 people. The first JFK hearing in since the 70s. Was there really a magic bullet theory, Mr. Stone? Now, I've studied this. The JFK assassination is almost as complex, almost as ufology. It's almost, because there were 7 or 8 different shooters. There were bullets that went in every direction. It was the CIA did the whole thing. It's so much bigger than it has ever been known. So much bigger. Mr. Stone, was there really a magic bullet? If these people in Congress, David, if we're looking to Luna, and no offense to these people, first of all, I have shoes and socks older than Luna. She's like 12 and a half, 13. What does she know about she probably never even heard of JFK. She got into Congress. She doesn't know. She hasn't been studying this like I have for 45 years. If they are asking such dopey questions about JFK, they can't possibly ask good questions about UFOs and aliens. It's just way out of their pay range, man. It's just not there.
Dan, I don't know about you, but I know that as a show host, I become extremely frustrated about this topic. And I don't want to be. I love this topic. I really do. And I know our audience loves this topic. That's why they tune in every night, whether they're experiencers or just out of curiosity, or maybe they've seen something in the sky they can't explain. And, when we come back in hour number 2, I want to get into the public reaction to this. What can we as the public do in order to help move this ball forward in one direction or another? You've got contacts, you've got understanding, and that's why we need that answer from Dan Harary from the wowsignal.news. If you want UFO news besides Spaced Out Radio, go to the wowsignal.news. We'll be right back. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. Dan, I'm going to put you back in the green room for a couple of minutes. We got about 5.5 minutes, okay?
Sure. Okay. That's fine.
I'll be right back, my friend.
Okay.
Right. I am back. Let's bring Dan back in. And let's see here. Making sure I haven't missed anybody. I don't think so. Izzy Beth, how are you? Nice to see you. Big thank you to our super chatters tonight, Dutch Hank, Hippie Deidre, and Sweet Donnie Cho. Very much appreciate the love and support of Spaced Out Radio. We got about 40 seconds, Dan.
Okay.
And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. Get yourself some, then take a picture and send it to us so we can put it on the website. We want to know how USO are. We do. And here we go in 3 seconds. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. A Panalepsis. A Panalepsis is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. From the wowsignal.news, Dan Harary is here hanging on out with us, talking about UFOs and the news that becomes of us because of this topic. But the big question now is, what about the people? What about the people? Because it's people like you, people like me, who have seen things in the sky, maybe had the ultimate experience with extraterrestrials or some different type of intelligent life form, that really we don't know what to do. Who do we trust? How can we be sure that we're getting the proper information? Dan, thank you so much for joining us. That's an important question that I see as a show host from a lot of our listeners. What about us? What about the little guy here who wakes up to alien grays in their bedroom, or are driving down a country road and all of a sudden their vehicle gets hit by a white light, and the next thing you know, 3 hours has passed and they're sitting in their car with no clothes on? It happens. You know, what about us?
That's the whole key. That's the key, David, to where we are right now. I am the head of PR for Contact in the Desert. We just had they just had their 11th anniversary event a month ago. It was terrific. We had 2,300 people there. The theme, Dave, not so much from the speakers as from the attendees. The theme now that I have picked up, and maybe you're going to pick this up too, we are disclosure. You've probably said that for years, but we are disclosure. We, the experiencers, the people that study this, the people that are passionate about this topic, what can we do? I'll tell you what I've done specifically. I created the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. That's number 1, with Stephen Bassett. And all of your viewers and listeners, you're all invited to join. Go to HollywoodDisclosureAlliance.org. We are a networking group. Sorry, I have a cold. We are a networking group. Half of our members are UAP experiencers, researchers, disclosure advocates. The other half, where I came in and what was novel, because I've been working in Hollywood for over 40 years, Hollywood writers, producers, directors, performers, podcasters, content creators. We are it's a website. All of our members are there. David's a member. David's up there. All our members with their photos and their bios, and every member talks to every other member in our live Slack channel. It's a live 24/7 chat room. It's an HDA members Slack channel. And through that, okay, so what do? The mission of the HDA, David, is to have, and I'm very passionate about this, to have real life experiencers share their stories with Hollywood writers and producers through the Slack channel. Every quarter we have a live event in LA. We have a booth at Contact in the Desert and Conscious Life Expo. So we gather there. But through this networking, already several projects have already germinated through this. There's a TV series called, I forget the name of the TV series, Shadow State. There's a TV series I'm involved with called Shadow State that came through the HDA. It's being pitched to Hollywood now. There's a documentary and a scripted TV show, both based on David, I'm sure you know this, the 1933 Magenta, Italy UFO crash that the Vatican covered up. I had dinner recently with the guys that are doing the TV series. This is so great. They have a connection to the Vatican to get never before released information from the Vatican about a 1933 crash in Italy. Now think that Mussolini covered up. Now think about that. That is, I'll do some simple math. That is 14 years before Roswell. A crash in Italy 14 years before Roswell. That's a big deal. David Grush mentioned that crash when he was speaking at Congress. So there's a doc and a TV series coming from that. Ron James from MUFON teamed up with an actor named Thomas Jane. He's a famous movie star. He's a member of my group. He's a good friend of mine. They're doing a new documentary together. I'm pitching my book called After They Came to TV producers now as we speak. And last month, we revealed the HDA documentary. You guys can all see it. It's on YouTube. It's called Inside Hollywood, Aliens, UFOs, and the Quest for Disclosure. It's a number of very, very prominent people talking about how Hollywood has handled the UAP, ET, UFO phenomenon historically, what Hollywood can do better to help us all move the disclosure movement forward, and what we, the experiencers, can do. So number one answer is join the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance.org. Number two, go to the wowsignal.news, like Dave said kindly. If you have news, send it to me, because hundreds of thousands of people in this field around the world will see it. So that's a big deal, number two. Number three, my book After They Came is sci-fi, but last year I released a different book called My Paranormal Life. This book, these are my UFO experiences. These are my real life supernatural paranormal stories. So write a book. I love books. I have probably 1,000 books in my living room. Write a book. If you're an experiencer, here's what I will tell you. Write a book, write an article, send it to the Wow Signal. Join the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. Go on Dave's show. Go on George Norrie. All the email contacts for all these shows are on their sites. Suggest yourself as a speaker to Contact in the Desert. Tell your mother, tell your friends. We are disclosure. Dave is disclosure. I am disclosure. All of you lovely people. Collectively, we are disclosure. Donald Trump and the Pope and King, what's his name? It's not going to happen that way. Not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. We have to be the tipping point until the ETs themselves decide, like in my book, After They Came, the ETs come to Dodger Stadium and they reveal. It should only happen. But until that day comes, David is disclosure and my projects are disclosure. Contact in the Desert is disclosure. We're all moving the ball forward in the same direction.
I love it. I love it. If Dan Harary had his way of disclosure,
Wow.
confirmation, what would you do? What do you personally need to see for this story to become reality and headline news right around the world?
Well, I know it's real. You know it's real. All your
Yes.
people. We know. I mean, we already know. I've had 4 remarkable UFO experiences. 4. 2 of them were interactive, and 2 of them changed my life. Literally changed my life. So I know it's real. I know 100,000%. I know it's real for sure. What I think. Here's what I think. The best, most neutral person on the planet Earth to reveal disclosure capital D would be the new Pope. He's an American. He's the Pope. About like 1 billion Catholics revere the popes, right? If he says, look, I feel in 2025, the time has come for us to share information that the Vatican has known for 100 years. And even if it's not, even if it's not the full story, even if it's not, there's angels, devils, and they're fighting and they're killing, and some of the species come to eat us, like the famous Twilight Zone episode, To Serve Man, they come to eat us. Even if he just says extraterrestrial life is real, 100%, we have concrete proof of this. It's been kept secret for a long time to protect the human race, but I'm the new Pope, not Trump, not Putin, not any controversial character. A Pope. He's the guy, man. He could do this tomorrow, and I would think half the world would probably believe him, and the other half would say it's fake news. It's fake news. So my personal thing would be the Pope goes on TV tomorrow.
I still think, even if it was the Pope, whoever the president is at that time, that's the one that's going to have all the pull.
Okay. No, I don't want to get political. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. That's all I'm going to say. If he went on TV and said tomorrow there's aliens, Steve Bassett would cry tears of joy. A lot of Democrats would say, oh man, he's just deflecting because he's on the Epstein list. He's deflecting, you know? And then if it had been Biden last year, had it been Biden? And remember when the China balloons, Dave?
Yes.
Let's talk about China balloons, okay? I'm passionate about this one. Remember early last year, there was the China balloon, right? It came over, I think it came over Montana, right? We all saw it on live CNN, and a China balloon went all across the United States. China balloon. What's a China balloon? That's a man-made craft. That's a man-made physical craft. And then they went into the sea in the Atlantic. I watched it on CNN Live. They fished it out. It was on CNN Live. Here it is. Here's the China balloon. Okay, that's fine. The next week, there were 3 major UFO sightings: Alaska, Canada, and Lake Huron. I think it was Lake Huron in the Great Lakes. 3 major in a row UAP sightings shot down by our military, right? What have we heard about those in the last year and a half? Nothing. Literally nothing. Biden went on TV after the 3rd one, and he said, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Weather balloon. I saw it. Weather balloon. And one of the others was a hobbyist balloon from Montana. It was a hobbyist balloon that drifted out. Okay, I'll see you later. And I said to Joe Biden when I'm watching TV, I said, Joe, man, you had it right here. You had it in your hand. You could have been right now, this second, you could have been the disclosure president right now. You blew it, buddy. You blew it. Then last December, January, the drones happened over the East Coast. Here's another great one. This is Stephen Bassett's theory, which went viral, and I believe this to be true. When all the people saw all the drones over New Jersey, and I guess it was Connecticut, New Jersey, my mother's house, I think they were over. My mother called me. My mother's 90 years old in a wheelchair in New Jersey. Danny, the drones, the drones. Should I be worried? I said, Mom, you're 90 years old. You're in a wheelchair. What are they going to do with you, really? What are they going to do? They're going to eat you? I think it's okay. I think you'll be fine. Stephen Bassett's theory. There was a major UFO, ET, NHI flap, December, January, 6, 7, 8 months ago, over the East Coast. People were seeing giant white orbs of light. Giant white orbs of light are not Chinese weather balloons, man. It's something else. So Steve Bassett and Danny Sheehan said he believed that Stephen was correct. Steve Bassett said, our military looked up in the sky, saw ET, NHI everywhere, and they were, oh my God, we can't tell the world that they exist. No. What did our U.S. military do? They sent up hundreds and hundreds of U.S. military man-made drones. Why? To deflect from the fact that UAPs, ETs, and NHI orbs and organisms and living creatures were floating around. A great magician says to everyone, look, here's my trick. I'm doing my trick. He really does it in the hand that's behind his back. According to Steve Bassett, and this went viral, the military, U.S. military sent up our military drones, hundreds and hundreds, because people say, drones, I see drones, everything drones, to deflect from ET visitations. Biden said, drones, everything's fine. They're not Russian, they're not North Korea, and they're not Chinese, everything's fine. Trump comes in. 2 weeks after Trump comes in, what's her name? Caroline, whatever, Levitt, her name is, the press lady.
Yes.
I spoke to the president about the drones. Drones. They were all FDA approved. Drones. Okay. Is Trump going to be the UAP disclosure president? No. He could have done it on day one, David. He had it in his hand. Didn't do it. That was day one. Presidents don't want to disclose.
Off topic a little bit. You had an encounter with a gargoyle. I got to hear about this.
Okay. Shameless plug time. This is on Amazon, My Paranormal Life. Supernatural, I don't even remember. Supernatural Stories from a Hollywood Insider. My publisher insisted that the word Hollywood had to be on the cover. Okay. It's on Amazon. When I was 5 years old, I grew up in near Asbury Park, New Jersey. It's where Bruce Springsteen came from. I knew Bruce Springsteen when I was 16. I worked with him, 1973. Whole huge other story. That's this book. This is my Hollywood book, Flirting with Fame. If you want to hear all my Hollywood stories, get this one. I have a whole chapter called Bruce. I knew Bruce Springsteen. Okay, so that's a whole thing there. Anyway. Okay, gargoyle. I grew up near Asbury Park, New Jersey. One day, I'm 5 years old. Two little girl neighbors across the street from me. One was 7, one was 8. Sisters came, rang the doorbell, said, do you want to come out and play? Yes. The three of us went down a block to play suburban New Jersey neighborhood, sunny summer day. There was a big billboard sign at the end of our street that promoted a drugstore at the mini mall around the corner. Me and these two little girls were climbing up inside the wooden, I'll call it the wooden framework skeleton lattice that's inside the billboard, not the part facing outward, the structure holding up the sign. We're climbing. I remember this clearly, Dave. I really do. I remember climbing. I had to be, I'm going to say I had to be 20, 25 feet up. I had to be, because it was a billboard sign, right? We're climbing up. My hands slipped off the wooden beam. I saw this, and I remember this clearly. For some reason, my hands got sweaty. My hands went like this on the beam I was climbing on, and I fell. I turned onto my back, and now I'm plummeting to the ground. I'm falling to the ground in slow motion, I will add. I'm falling to the ground in slow motion. These two little girls, Kathy and Lizzie, I remember their names. They said, Daddy, oh no, they saw me screaming. I'm falling. I'm thinking to myself, I'm 5. I'm thinking, this isn't going to be good. This isn't good. Okay. As I'm falling in slow motion, I have missing time. I woke up. I will guess. If I had to guess, I'll say a half hour later. I woke up. I'm going to guess a half hour later, 2 blocks away on a couch inside a home in my neighborhood. No one else was home. I'd never been in this house before or since in my life. I'm laying on the couch. My eyes are closed. I remember I opened my eyes. My first thought, David, I swear to God, my first thought was, am I dead? I remember that. Am I dead? I sit up. Hello? Hello? Is anyone here? No one was home. Empty house. Okay. I'm fine. I'm not bleeding. No broken bones. No scratches. No, I'm perfectly fine. I get off the couch. I start to walk to the front door. There's a screen door in front of the house to the sidewalk. And then I knew I could find my way home to my mommy's house. A 6 or 7 foot tall cryptid being was standing in front of the door in the living room. He had the face of a bull. His back was like a V shape, and then he had like donkey legs. On the shoulders of his back, I knew instinctively he once had wings, but they had been clipped off like with a hedge clipper because they were bony stumps here. So I'm standing here. His back is facing me. He turns around to look at me. True story. He goes like this. He snorted at me. And I said to myself, oh, he doesn't like me. I remember, oh, he doesn't like me, right? He snorted as if to say, yeah, I just saved your life, you little bastard, but I didn't want to. And he went through the front door, and then he just, I don't remember if he dissipated, vanished, whatever. He just left the front door. I went outside, looked around. So we had a pink house. I saw my mother's pink house down the street. I walked home. That's the end of the story. I think it was a gargoyle. My daughter thinks it was one of the watchers.
Okay.
We have found some very interesting photos of gargoyles and watchers online. Now, gargoyles, they look very scary, right? Gargoyles, people don't know this. I didn't know this. Gargoyles protect people, buildings. That's why they're all over New York. People, buildings, and specific areas of land. I researched with gargoyles. I believe, and this is insane. I know it's insane, but I'm not insane. I fell off a sign. I never hit the ground. This creature, someone I just told this story to, they said it was an interdimensional creature. Okay, I think that's right. This creature, I believe, caught me, brought me to a house 2 blocks away. Now, the 2 little girls I was with weren't there. You know, you would think they would have, if I had fallen to the ground, and let's say I was dying or hurt, these 2 little girls would have picked me up, carried me to their mother's house or my mother's house, which was 1 block away. It only makes sense. I think this creature saved me, brought me to that house. I was fine, not a scratch on me, man. Now, if you fall 20, 25 feet and you're 5 years old, something bad's going to happen. You're going to get cut. A stone is going to, something bad. You're going to break a vertebra. Nothing. That's my first story. Now, that's the first memory of my whole life, number 1. Number 2, that opened the door. Someone said to me, that opened your door into the other side in your paranormal world. I agree. And I think perhaps when I had my UFO sightings, I think maybe somehow all of that might be related to each other.
An incredible story indeed. Dan, when we return on Spaced Out Radio after the break, we are going to get to some audience questions because I know they are building up as we have you for another 30 minutes here on the Mighty SOR. Dan Harary is from the wowsignal.news. The website, once again, the wowsignal.news. You make sure you check it on out for all your UFO news reports. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. Miriam, how you doing? Good to see you. I love that story, Dan.
Me too, man. So I told my mother that story 2 years ago when I remembered it. She goes, Danny, you were dreaming. Mom, wasn't a dream. Wasn't a dream. How come you didn't tell me? I go, Mom, I was 5. I'm going to come in and say, Mom, I just fell off a sign. I died in an interdimensional gargoyle saved my life. Am I going to tell that to her? Or am I going to say, Mommy, can I have some milk and cookies? You never told me. What was my mother going to do? Go outside and find the gargoyle and give him a $5 bill and say thank you? So, but I've told it many, many times. It is a true story. It is my first memory. I know it's true. Now, here's the sad part. 6 months ago, Dave, I tracked down the 2 girls that I was with. They're in their 70s. I tracked them down. They don't even remember me at all. I hadn't seen them since 1962. So they go, your name sort of sounds familiar, but we don't know who you are. So now, had they said, yeah, we remember, I would have them sitting here with me right now, right? Third party proof. Wouldn't that be great? So I can never prove that story because they didn't even remember me. But I know it's a real story. It really happened.
I love it. I love it, my man. Oh.
Did you know Earl Grey Anderson?
I knew. I never got the privilege of meeting him personally, but I talked to him a number of times on the phone, and I got to interview him a couple of times. Just what a sad loss for everybody in the UFO community.
Yeah, I agree. I only knew him for 2 years in real life. Lovely, lovely man. His laugh was the most endearing and welcoming. He was one of the first people to join HDA. Me and him and my daughter had dinners and drinks a few times together. I mean, my daughter loved him. I mean, when Earl cried, David, when Earl died, I cried for 4 days. And I only knew him for 2 years. It affected me very, very deeply. It hurt me. I wrote a nice piece about him on the Wow Signal. I wrote a memorial piece about him. But he was a brother. He was one of us. Steve Bassett on his PRG, Paradigm Research Group website, has an in memoriam page. And you should see it. I mean, it's everyone. Dr. J. Allen Hynek and John Mack. It's everyone. It's hundreds of people. And right at the top, he put Earl Grey Anderson. And the day Earl died, we did an HDA live event that afternoon, the day he died. Me, Stephen, and Paul Hynek and Ron James, we all spoke about how much we loved this guy. And Stephen Bassett said, I am very upset that Earl, a warrior for the truth, is not going to live to see disclosure. He goes, this upsets me greatly. And Paul Hynek said, he was my friend and I loved him. And me and Paul, we started crying. Paul Hynek, we were crying. It was a big loss, like you said. He was a lovely man.
Paul Hynek, the most not funny man in ufology.
He's pretty serious.
I'll tell you the joke behind that. It
Okay.
started at UFO Con in San Francisco, and he was just slaying me, and throwing. You know how sarcastic he is,
Yes.
and when I say sarcastic, I'm talking very fun for sarcastic, and I absolutely adore the man. And so, going into my presentation the year after at UFOCon, knowing Paul was going to be there, in my presentation, right halfway through, I put a stop in there to remind people that Paul Hynek is not funny. And then the next day, he roasted me on his presentation. He went and changed his presentation that night in order to just roast me again on his presentation. So we end up both speaking at MUFON Symposium in Denver. And I stopped halfway through again with Paul in the stands. And I said, this is just your friendly reminder that Paul Hynek is not funny. Please don't laugh at his jokes. Don't stand up for his pictures. He's not a funny guy. And the next day he got me good again. So people are like, do you guys really not like each other? And we're just killing ourselves laughing over a drink, right? But I love the man. Hold on right there. We're going to come back here in about 7 seconds. Thank you, Izzy Stradlin, Sweet Donnie Cho, Hippie Deidre, and Dutch Hank for the super chats. Appreciate the love and support tonight. And we will be coming back right now. We're into the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Coming up with audience questions next for our guest, Dan Harary from the wowsignal.news, your main UFO site outside of Spaced Out Radio. That's for sure. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, do us a favor, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right, final time tonight, we say hello to Dan Harary. He is from the wowsignal.news. Make sure you bookmark that page on your phone, on your computer at home, on your tablet, because it is one of the best UFO sources of information out there. Dan, thank you for being here. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can we answer Jose Sanchez's question?
Oh, we're gonna get to a bunch of questions here.
Okay, that's a good one.
All right. Let's start off with Joe here because he's been waiting the longest. Dan, what do you think is the biggest UFO event that was never widely reported on?
I brought it up a little while ago. The 1933 Magenta, Italy crash. It happened when Benito Mussolini was the head of the military. He wasn't the prime minister of Italy yet. It's before World War II. He was the head of the military. He and his men acquired a craft, Magenta, Italy. I know this from people who have been studying this. They told me this recently. The army, Italian army, got the craft. They built a special, huge warehouse building, and they had military guards protecting that building for years and years and years. Now, here's a theory. You know, during World War II, the United States, one of our U.S. points of entry into Europe was through Italy. I heard from these people I know who are researching this for a TV project. The American military, David, found out about that craft and recovered that craft. It would have been what? It would have been 42, 43, 44, 45. Whenever we got into Italy, they recovered it and they brought it back to the United States. The Magenta, Italy UFO crash is the most remarkable crash. It's documented. The friends I know who I refer to are getting, hopefully, the report from the Vatican itself. The Vatican and Mussolini covered that event up. My friends have an in with the Vatican to get the document that proves that that crash happened. And I only found out about it a few months ago. I believe David Grush mentioned it during his hearing in 2023. So Joe Monk, that's the biggest one I've ever heard of that I never knew after 20 years of study. And so I think that's a good one.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to Polly in Israel, who is asking, what are the last studies made to the WOW signal? And do we ever expect any further info?
Okay, that's a great question. I'm not sure about the original WOW signal, but 2 weeks ago on my thewowsignal.news website, okay, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, one of our media partners, Dave, my brother Dave here is a media partner. Another media partner for the WOW signal is called the International UFO Bureau. They're out of Kansas City, Missouri. They released a paper 2 weeks ago that proved there was another brand new WOW signal that just happened about 6 months ago. It happened 2 different times. It's not the original WOW signal. That was 1977. A brand new WOW signal happened twice in 2024. go to my Wow Signal, go to newsletters, and then under the drop down, go to newsletter archives, and you will see that article. It has all the proof right in there. So the theory for the original Wow Signal, 50-50. 50%, it's an alien message. Other 50, it was space junk, it was space noise, it was absolutely nothing. That's been debated since 1977. This brand new study came out on my Wow Signal 2 weeks ago about 2 new signals. Read that and then tell me what you think.
All right, let's move on to Jose. Did you know that the movie E.T. was a modified cutesy sequel to CE3K? Dark Skies was Spielberg's original idea, and it was made more serious and darker and never made. What's your thoughts on this, Dan?
E.T. was a modified cutesy sequel to Close Encounters.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So here's what I know. Close Encounters of the Third Kind was inspired by, I made a study of Steven Spielberg, and I was fortunate enough to meet him for a few hours many years ago. We spent some time with him. When Steven Spielberg was a young boy, his father took him outside. This was in New Jersey. And when they lived there, they lay down on blankets and they saw a meteor shower. I forget, it starts with the letter P. I forget the name of it.
Is that the Perseids?
Yeah, probably right. On a specific date and time, they knew that this meteor shower was going to happen. They went out, they laid on the ground. Steven and his father. Steven loved his father, man. And Steven says, when I saw all kinds of stuff, shooting around in the skies, it would have been meteors. I thought to myself, what else is up there? That's what he says. Okay. So Close Encounters of the Third Kind came out in December 1977. I mentioned that earlier. His science UFO advisor was Dr. J. Allen Hynek, Paul Hynek's father. Paul Hynek, who is David Scott's comedy buddy. And CE3K was it's known within circles that Steven based many of the elements of that film on real stories that he got from Hynek through Project Blue Book. Okay, so that's what Close Encounters was. The E.T. movie was a modified cutesy. Okay, probably, yes. Here's something people don't know, and I can't remember her name now. Steven Spielberg's mother. David, can you Google Steven Spielberg's mother for me?
Yes.
Her first name, it's just slipping my mind.
Leah Adler.
Leah. Steven Spielberg's mother was Leah Adler. Leah Adler had a restaurant 1 block from my house. I went and had lunch with Leah Adler and my mother many times, okay? I knew Leah Adler. Leah Adler was about 4 feet tall and all scrunched up, lovely woman. When my mother and I went there for lunch, she sat with us and she would tell us stories about her Steven. My Steven was here last week with Tom Cruise, and they sat right at that booth. And you know what they were talking about? They were talking about how much they both loved their mothers. Anyway, Leah Adler told me to my face, Steven based E.T. character on me because I'm so little. Okay. Steven Spielberg, the little creature, the little 4 foot, little tall, 3 foot 4. It looked like Leah passed away a few years ago. May she rest in peace. But I knew her, lovely lady, very proud of Steven. Every one of his movie posters was inside her restaurant. It was called the Milky Way. It's still there. It's a block from my house. New people run it, but E.T. character was based on Leah Adler. That I know for a fact. Was Spielberg's original idea? Dark Skies was created and produced by a guy named Bryce Zabel. Bryce, B-R-Y-C-E, Zabel, Z-A-B-E-L. It was a TV series. I never saw it. I hear it's hard to find. But if Dark Skies was Spielberg's idea, he must have collaborated with Bryce Zabel because Bryce Zabel produced and presented Dark Skies.
All right, let's get to another question. Let's go to Polly in Israel once again. What is for you the meaning of disclosure, and how do you think it's going to happen?
The theoretical meaning the theoretical meaning of disclosure, and I get this from my brother Stephen Bassett, who coined the term disclosure pretty much in the 90s, would be President Trump goes on television and says, "People of the world, I have something to tell you. It's very important. Extraterrestrial life is real. We, the U.S. government and the U.S. military, we've known about this since the 30s or 40s," whatever he would say. Did you know? Wait, hold on. Let's go back. Oh, no, never mind. You know about the 1898, the Aurora crash, David? You know about the Aurora crash, 1898? Yes. I mean, UFO crashes have been happening in America at least since the 1800s, probably since the beginning of time. Anyway, Trump goes on, "People of the world, there are extraterrestrials. We know about many of them. We've been involved with them. They've been kind enough to give us some of their technology. We've been working with them on peaceful means." That's what he would say, which would be a total lie. And we felt the time was now, the time had come, because of more and more sightings, more and more whistleblowers, more and more experiencers are sharing their stories on podcasts and radio shows and TV. So I felt the time was coming. That's the theoretical meaning of disclosure. How it's going to happen in real life, nobody knows. Nobody knows. The closest person who would have the best guesstimate would be Danny Sheehan. He's the head of the New Paradigm Institute in Washington, D.C. He's working on the UAP Disclosure Act with Chuck Schumer and Mike Rounds. There is going to be a vote on it in September in Congress. There's going to be a vote on the UAP Disclosure Act in September through Danny Sheehan, Chuck Schumer, and Mike Rounds. If that passes, what does that mean? It will officially, according to this document, protect whistleblowers from coming forward with specifics. David and I were talking earlier, like Dave Grush, my friend Bob Salas, Lou Elizondo. "Well, I heard about this craft, and I heard about an alien. Did you ever see a craft, David Grush?" "Oh, no, I've never seen one personally." If the UAP Disclosure Act passes in September, whistleblowers who say, like Bob Lazar, 1,000 Bob Lazars. I was going to mention this earlier to David. My father worked for the U.S. Army for 45 years. I saw a UFO with him in 1970. That was a remarkable event in my life. He looked at this craft like he was bored to tears. He had seen it a million times. After my father died in 2017, 47 years later, I found out that my father's workplace, called Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. In fact, I have a book. I just read this. Fort Monmouth, the U.S. Army's House of Magic, where my father worked for 45 years. They invented radar, walkie-talkies, night vision, FM radio, air-to-ground radio, weather satellites, TV satellites, drones. Hundreds and hundreds of new technologies were invented at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. My father worked there for 45 years. He never told a soul what he did for a living, including my mother and myself and my brothers. After my father died, I found out numerous things about him. We don't have time now. But my father worked on reverse engineering of UFO technology. I have proof of this. Okay? So my father was a patriot. He was a hero. I said, "Dad, what do you do for work?" "I help America win the Cold War." That's all my father ever said. He was not going to blow his pension, go to jail, and have the IRS audit him because he's told me and my mother and my brothers, "Yeah, Daddy, we worked on the Roswell crash." My father wasn't going to do that. So I'm all over the map on this. But if the UAP Disclosure Act passes, people like my dear, beloved, late father could have come forward, legally protected, could have said, "Yes, I worked on this piece of technology. I worked on anti-gravity technology." I think my father worked on anti-gravity, quite frankly. So that's very important. That's how it's that's the next step that could really be a very, very big game changer, is that act passing Congress.
No kidding. No kidding. All right, let's go to another question here. Let's go to Ms. Tessa. The two little girls witnessed you fall What did they say happened after they screamed your name?
Miss Tessa, you're very attractive, aren't you? I told David earlier, I tracked them down a few months ago. They're in their 70s now. I'm 69. They're probably 72 and 74. They don't remember me at all. I tracked them down on the internet. They emailed me, Dan, we don't know. We don't remember you. Sorry. So they screamed when I fell. The gargoyle saved me. I went home, probably had milk and cookies. I probably played with these girls another couple of years. Look, when you're 5 years old, are you going to say to your neighbors, hey, did you see the gargoyle save my life? It just didn't come up. It just didn't happen. So they screamed. I was friends with them for another year or two. And then my parents moved to a much bigger house when my father got more successful. So they didn't say anything. That's the answer.
Let's move on. Let's go to Doubleday. The previous administration could have used the auto pen to announce disclosure, and no one would have taken any heat. Why do you think this didn't happen?
The last president who was really dying to disclose and had the knowledge was Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan knew why. He had 2 personal UFO sightings as governor of California. George H.W. Bush, who had been the head of the CIA, was his vice president. There is documentation that Reagan was briefed on extraterrestrial life. Steven Spielberg has a wonderful story. Steven Spielberg showed E.T. at the White House when Reagan was president to a room full of people in the White House. At the end of the movie, Spielberg said, Reagan got up, stood in front of the movie screen, looked at the crowd and said, there are probably 6 or 7 people here in this room right now. This is after they saw the movie E.T. There are 6 or 7 people in this room right now who know what we just saw up on that screen is real. And Steven said Reagan looked at him, Spielberg, didn't smile, didn't wink, didn't chuckle. He was dead serious. Okay, so Reagan really wanted to disclose. Reagan has the famous speech at the United Nations. I think, David, I think it's in your open even. He wanted to disclose. Right. George H.W. Bush, head of the CIA, knew all about aliens, UFOs. He knew everything. When Jimmy Carter had just been elected president, Denny Sheehan tells this story. Jimmy Carter, 1976, he's the president-elect. He meets with George H.W. Bush in Plains, Georgia, where Carter lived. He goes, George, you're the head of the CIA. I want to know when I become the president in 2 months, I want to know everything about UFOs. George H.W. Bush says to Jimmy Carter, president-elect, Mr. President-elect, with all due respect, that's way above your pay grade. Never told him. Bill Clinton never got the info. Obama never got the info. Biden, I appreciated Biden. I respected him. He was an old man. He should have bowed out 2 years before that whole fiasco at the end. If whatever he might have known, and I say this disparagingly on purpose, Biden did not have the balls to be the disclosure president. He just didn't. He was an 85-year-old man, didn't have the balls to do it. Now Trump comes in. I'm going to tell everybody. I'm hearing interesting things. 2 weeks in, Trump's lady goes, the drones. They were FDA approved drones. So Trump, don't see it anytime soon. So no administration is going to use an auto pen or a quill pen or a typewriter or a computer. No one. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
Makes sense. All right, let's go to another question here. As we got 4 minutes to go. Let's go to Jaquetta. I know you'll be interrupted, but couldn't you say it's hard to see anything in the sky when you're underground?
That's exactly what Bob Salas would say, Jaquetta. Absolutely. Because I know him personally, and I interviewed him for an hour on my show. I know Bob Salas. He's told me the story to my face. The men that were calling him from up on the ground were hysterically upset. They were very, very upset. Colonel, Captain, whatever he was, Captain Salas, what should we do? There's a huge orange, red, pulsing craft out here. What should we do? Please tell us. We don't know what to do. Should we fire on it? Should we leave? Should we escape? And Bob Salas looked at his other partner there, and he said their hands were shaking, their hearts were racing. They go, well, we have to guard these missiles. So you do what you have to do, and just keep me posted. The next day, he came to the base, Salas, and all the men who were involved, and the commanding officer of the base put them in a room and said, every single person in this room, nothing happened last night. You are never to tell anyone as long as you live, including your wives. And you all have to sign an NDA for life. And they all had to sign a paper in the room that next morning. Bob came out 30 years later. The event was 67. Bob came out in 97 and said, you know what? I signed the paper, but I think what my knowledge is more important than my NDA. And that's when he started writing books, doing lectures, and came out. Bob Salas is a hero, man, to have that kind of courage to come out and do it before he passed. I wish my father had done it. My father didn't have that kind of courage. Why? He wasn't going to jeopardize his family or his pension. Okay, I understand my father, but I wish he had. But Bob Salas did. So Bob Salas is a hero. When he goes to Congress and they say you didn't see anything, he's going to say, with all due respect, Representative Luna, it's hard to see anything in the sky when you're 30 stories underground. So Jaquetta, that's a great question.
All right, this will probably be our final question of the night from Paramarv. Did your father ever confirm the story of Colonel Philip Corso told about the tech from the alien craft being farmed out to U.S. industries to incorporate into military and everyday life?
Okay, I can do this pretty quickly. I have two stories, Paramarv, on this topic, two stories. Not specifically Corso, but about my father. After my father died in 2017, I called my mother. She's still alive. I said, Mom, now my dad invented, my father invented drones. By the way, my father invented drones. I found this out after he died on this piece of orange paper I had in a scrapbook from 1985. I had never read it in my life. My father died. I read this. My father invented drones. Nothing serious. Okay, that's number one. Number two, everything my father did, drones, radar, guided missiles. My father was a genius. He was a physicist. That's what he did. 45 years, never told anyone. Okay. He dies. I called my mother. Now, they had been divorced for a while at that point. I go, Mom, did Dad ever talk about UFOs? Everything my father did had to do with the sky. Radar, guided missile, drones. Everything my father did was the sky. My mother told me a story, David, 2017, after he died. She said, in the early 1960s, they took your father deep into the vault at Fort Monmouth Army Base. They showed him something above top secret. He came home, but that night, my father was pale and shaking and nervous and almost crying. My mother goes, honey, what's wrong? My father said to my mother, quote, I saw something today deep in the vaults at the base, deep in the vaults. I can never tell you or anyone about it as long as I live. My father walked down the hall and my mother said, Danny, your father was never the same after that day. I believe my father saw a craft or a piece of technology. I don't think he saw aliens, but I know my father saw some ET technology. I know it in my heart.
On that note, we're going to say goodnight to you, Daniel Harary, from the wowsignal.news. And we appreciate you taking the time for us on this show tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. It's always so much fun to be with you. Check out HollywoodDisclosureAlliance.org and the wowsignal.news and Dan Harary, author.com.
Coming up next, Swamp Dweller. Then little Timmy James will be here for the UFO report. A busy hour 3 next on the mighty SOR.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Fun?
It was a blast. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, man. It was
Very
so
much appreciate you taking the time for us.
Yeah, I really do. I love talking to you. You're one of my favorite people.
And ditto. I'll call you maybe tomorrow.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Have a good evening.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Dan Harary, everybody. I'll be right back. All right. Let's bring little Timmy James into the shop.
Hey.
What's happening, buddy?
Well, living the dream.
Nice.
You?
Oh, just living the dream.
Yeah. Saw your commercials.
What's that?
I said, I saw your commercials. Who's the new guy?
Yeah.
Poor Brian.
Right. Oh, it's all good. Thank you tonight to CS, Christine, Izzy Stradlin, Sweet Donnie Cho, Hippie Deidre, and Dutch Hank for the super chats. Greatly appreciate your love tonight. I guess I got to find some news.
Yeah.
We got 20 seconds.
All righty.
Ten seconds. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us. Oh, I just saw one of the news stories. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. A Panalepsis. A Panalepsis is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. I had a nearly identical story happen to one that I heard on your channel, and felt it was important to relay my experience as well. There were many times in my life where I was staying in very unusual and creative places. From about the age of 22 to 24, I was living in a few different tents I had set up in the South Hills of San Jose, California. I stayed there for months at a time by myself, because I enjoyed the freedom to do what I want and stay where I wanted. Within the amount of time, I had countless experiences with wildlife. I was camped too close to a water source. I basically set up camp right in the middle of Mother Nature's freeway. Almost every night, around midnight, a group of wild pigs would run down the hill. Some of them were enormous, and sometimes they would squeal and scream. When you were out there, and they were sniffing around the paper-thin tent, it was something terrifying. I also would hear deer, coyote, and have been stalked by a mountain lion at least 3 times. You will learn the natural sounds at night surprisingly fast, especially if you are in the same area for a long time. There was one night when I was sleeping, and was awoken by the sound of pigs coming down the hill. But this time something was different. I'm a very light sleeper, and even though I was somewhat used to them, they would scare me when they got within 15 feet from my tent. But this time, I remember feeling relaxed. It was an unusual relaxed, though, because these things were closer than I was normally comfortable with them being. And surprisingly, the more relaxed I was feeling, the more tired I got. It almost felt like I was being put under before surgery, except I was still aware and had my senses. I heard what sounded like a pig sniffing, and felt one of them brush up against the tent, and then they seemed to leave. All except for one, that is. I couldn't tell if this one was in the back of the group or separate and following not far behind the rest. In my sedated state, I was not concerned the way I normally would be. Then, the pig, or whatever it was, did something bizarre. It laid on me. I could feel its body heat and feel its breathing, but I dare not move, Or perhaps I couldn't move from the fear. This creature laid on my chest for what felt like multiple hours, but probably was not much more than just a few minutes. I felt to get off my chest at some point in time, and shortly after that the sedation wore off and I woke up. I don't know what to make of it, but someone out there in a past episode shared a similar experience on your channel, and perhaps others have too. If anyone knows what this may have been, please enlighten me in the comments down below.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another spooky story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, ring that bell, hit subscribe. He has thousands of stories just like that ready for you. Time for the UFO report.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
Little Timmy James, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you.
You too. You too.
I'm very much looking forward to Saturday, my friend.
Yes. I think it's going to be, well, it's always a good time, but I'm looking forward to it too. I'm actually quite excited.
I'm just hoping the rain stays away. It seems like the only place it's going to be raining is over top of our area across the province.
Mm-hmm.
You know, usually it's Vancouver.
Yeah.
Vancouver's known for the rain, not us.
No.
But apparently it's going to rain.
Yeah.
But you know what? We've been lucky with that previous.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the only job that you can do that you can, whatever that you can do halfway, because it's never correct. I mean, up here, wait 10 minutes, like we all say, right? It'll either be sunny or rainy or, the caribou weather changes like that.
What do you got for us tonight?
Well, our buddy, Representative Eric Burleson, a vocal advocate for government transparency on UFOs, directly questioned NASA's new interim administration during a congressional session about the agency's alleged trove of UFO-related videos and photos. Burleson, a member of the House Oversight Committee and the Congressional UAP Caucus, referenced claims by former NASA official and Dave's favorite guy, Mike Gold, who reportedly told Congress that NASA possesses untold numbers of such materials. Burleson pushed for their public release, asking, "Would you be willing to work with me to make this happen?" So the inquiry underscores Burleson's ongoing efforts to uncover what he believes is a lack of openness from federal agencies regarding UFOs. He has previously expressed frustration with the Department of Defense and intelligence community for withholding information, stating, "You, the taxpayers, owe this information, and you have the right to know." His question to NASA's interim head reflects a broader push for accountability, particularly after the Pentagon's repeated denials of secret UFO programs and NASA's stance that it has no evidence of extraterrestrial life. So Burleson's skepticism about extraterrestrial origins remains, as he noted in a 2024 interview. "What I think is the least likely probability is that we've been visited by some alien race from another planet that is light years away." Yet, he insists on transparency, arguing that whether UFOs are advanced technology, foreign crafts, or something else, the public deserves clarity. His call for NASA to release its purported UFO footage aligns with his efforts to establish a House Select Committee to investigate these phenomena, a proposal rejected by House Speaker Mike Johnson's office earlier this year. The NASA interim administrator's response to Burleson's questions was not detailed in available reports, leaving open whether the agency will cooperate. Burleson's persistence, bolstered by his recent hiring of David Grush as a senior advisor, signals that he intends to keep pressing for answers. Transparency is essential for understanding the broader implication of UFOs and UAPs on national security, use of taxpayer funds, and public trust, Burleson said in a March 2024 statement. So that little Burleson, he seems to be trying to get into everything a little bit. It's kind of he's front and center in a lot of news stories the last couple of weeks.
I'm going to call out Mike Gold here
Your
for
buddy?
a second, the representative from NASA. The audacity that he has to even talk UFOs after the ignorance that he showed to the Congressional panel last summer, or was it earlier this year? Was it earlier this year or last year?
November.
In November.
Right.
He should be ashamed of himself to even bring up the fact that NASA has a trove of UFO documents. We already know that. The public knows that. NASA denied that they have it when they did their miraculous $100,000 study, bringing in a bunch of professors and researchers to scour through NASA. And what was their answer? No, we didn't find anything. There's nothing to see here, people. Totally Chief Wiggum'd it.
Yep.
Right? And for him to actually have that conversation and Burleson to quote him, every American who is involved or interested in this subject should absolutely email Burleson and saying, why are you giving this guy the time of day after his congressional hearing, where he literally was whining and complaining and begging to give NASA funding, not for UFOs, but for everything but. You're at a UFO hearing. You couldn't answer a question. You sat there and you humbled and fumbled your way through absolutely everything. Okay, you were like, I'm going to use a 70s toy. You were like a Weeble. You wobbled, but you didn't fall down. So when I hear the name Mike Gold talking about this subject, even if it is secondhand information with Tim Burleson, I just roll my eyes and I just say, that conversation is useless. Absolutely useless. If he couldn't say it in front of a congressional hearing, he should never be talked in this subject again.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry for my rant there, but
no, that's perfect. It'll just get you warmed up for the next half hour. But yeah, I knew as soon as I read it, I was like, oh, this is going to be a good one. But yeah, Mike Gold. I just, like you said, when in November, we had the roundtable. We had the roundtable on the show, and I remember that I think all of us had the same opinion of him. And I mean, if you watch it, if you go back and watch it, you don't have to, but if you feel like going back and watching it, have a look. And Mike Gold sits in the chair and he starts slouching and getting lower, like he's getting bored. He's looking up at the lights. And yeah, I think he was there for glad handing and maybe some funding for whatever else he wanted. But yeah, he was about as useful as a screen door in a submarine. I don't know.
Very true. Very true. Honestly, it was one of the worst performances I've ever seen in a congressional hearing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He reminds me of, you remember Chief Wiggum's son? What was his name?
Ralphie. Yeah.
Ralphie. Where you're sitting there talking about UFOs and he's staring off into the sunset, asking about Idaho.
Yeah,
right.
Eating Elmer's paste or something.
It's totally Mike Gold. Totally Mike Gold. Sorry, you don't have any respect for this subject or the people involved in it.
No,
you should be ashamed of yourself.
Absolutely.
You really should. What do you got next?
Well, Whitley Strieber sat down with Ross Colhart and got into some his stories about and his experiences about abductions. So I found it pretty interesting, actually, very interesting. So Strieber recounted the pivotal night of December 26th of 1985 when he awoke in his upstate New York cabin to a strange noise and saw a small non-human figure approaching his bed. I felt an absolutely indescribable sense of menace. It was hell on earth to be there, and yet I couldn't move, couldn't cry out, and couldn't get away, he said, recalling the paralyzing fear that gripped him. He described how the next moment, it was the morning, leaving him disoriented and uncharacteristically aggressive. Just kind of lost my spot there. Uncharacteristically aggressive. With hours of missing time, under hypnotic regression, memories surfaced of being taken by beings he refused to definitively label as extraterrestrial. I call them the visitors because I don't know what they are. They could be from another dimension, another time, or even part of our own psyche. We don't yet understand, he told Coldheart. The conversation delved into the physical and psychological toll of these encounters. Strieber described a particular invasive experience involving what he called extreme medical testing, including a procedure that left him both humiliated and terrified. They inserted something into me, and it wasn't just physical. It felt like they were probing my very essence, he said, his voice steady but heavy with the weight of recollection. He emphasized that these experiences, while deeply unsettling, also carried a strange sense of purpose. I've come to believe they are involved with us on a deep level, weaving imagination and reality into something we're only beginning to grasp, he added, referencing ideas explored in his later works like The Supernatural. Coldheart, known for his rigorous approach to the UFO phenomenon, pressed Strieber on the skepticism surrounding his claims, including accusations of fabrication due to his background as a fiction writer. Strieber acknowledged the criticism but remained resolute. I've received nearly 500,000 letters from people describing similar experiences. This isn't just my story. It's happening to countless others, he said, noting that his late wife, Anne, meticulously cataloged these accounts. He also addressed the neurological explanation and the hypnagogia, often cited by skeptics. I know what I experienced wasn't just sleep state. The fear of physicality, it was too real, too consistent with what others reported, he insists. Strieber's discussion with Coldheart also touched on a 1998 encounter in a Toronto hotel room where a mysterious human-like figure delivered an hour-long lecture on topics from spirituality to environmental collapse. It was the most extraordinary conversation I've ever had. He spoke of dangers we're only now beginning to face, like creating an intelligence beyond our control, Strieber recounted. While some dismiss this as fanciful, he maintains its reality, supported by a former Green Beret commando who described him as one of the most intelligent and thoughtful researchers in the field. The interview highlighted Strieber's evolution from a horror novelist to a reluctant advocate for exploring the unknown. I don't believe in the supernatural. I believe this is part of nature we don't yet understand, he said, echoing his collaboration with Rice University professor Jeffrey Kripal in Supernatural. He urged for a new discipline combining scientific rigor with open-minded inquiry. To perceive the visitors adequately, we need to invent a new way of seeing, one that merges with the mystic's imagination, with the scientist's discipline, he told Coldheart. Strieber's candid reflection underscores a lifelong struggle to make sense of experiences that defy conventional explanation. I wake up every night at 3 a.m., the exact moment it began in a panic. It's been 30 years and it's still with me, he admitted, yet he expressed no desire to flee these encounters. We didn't sell the cabin. We kept going back. There's something about this that feels like it's meant to be faced, not avoided, he said. His words left Coldheart and viewers with a haunting question. What if these experiences, however bizarre, are pointing to a deeper truth about humanity's place in the universe? I was like, ooh, very cool. He's got a ton of them. Like it's like it just goes on and on and on. After I read this, I did a little bit more research on him, and it's like, holy cow, unbelievable.
Whitley Strieber is the one who really opened up the Pandora's box to alien encounters. He really did, with Communion, and it is still the only book I have never finished.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, yes, you were telling me. That's right.
I've read through the Bible front to back, Old Testament, New Testament, and I still will not finish Communion. It has been sitting in a box in my storage area for the last 26 years.
Holy.
All because This is way before I was even into Spaced Out Radio or anything like that. All
Right.
because when I was a brand new dad, I was reading Communion, and it got to the part where Whitley is on the craft and he looks beside him and his young son is sitting there. And I was holding my 4-month infant daughter at that point, and I literally closed up the book and said, I am never reading this again, ever. And I've never finished that book.
I remember as soon as you got into it, I was like, oh, yes, I do remember this story. Yeah. He's a very interesting person, and I was quite taken back by the accounts and the experiences that he's had. I was like, wow. But
it is pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It really is amazing that he was able to write that and have recall on it. Most experiencers don't have recall, man.
Right.
So the fact that he was able to have recall means that he's either literally telling the truth and they allowed him to have all that recall, or he's full of it. One of the two. I don't think Whitley Strieber is full of it. But I mean, you know, Tim, you and I have talked, and we've talked about it on the show, about people making fun of these people who have close encounters. We talked a lot recently about Bob Gimlin and Roger Patterson with the original Bigfoot video from Bluff Creek. Okay, how everybody has, I mean, they don't really harass him anymore because he's in his 90s.
Yeah.
But for a long time there, they harassed his children. They gave death threats to him. They harassed his grandchildren. Whitley Strieber is the exact same way, except it's times 10, man. I mean, don't forget, South Park's first ever episode was based on Whitley Strieber's anal probing comment. And if you watch that episode of South Park, episode 1, season 1, it is literally about the chubby kid Cartman having an anal probe happen with a satellite that unfolds out of his buttocks. Okay. Now remember, this is all cartoons, and him in denial that it's even happening to Stan, Kyle, and to Kenny until the aliens kill Kenny. You bastards. Right? I mean, that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, that's cool. I vaguely remember that. Now I got to go back and watch that because that puts a whole new spin on it. That's so good.
Right? I mean, but he has been harassed. He has been threatened. He has been called a fake, a liar, a cheat. He's been called every name under the book, a grifter. I hate that term, grifter.
Me too.
Oh, I hate that term. Okay, but he has literally gone through the gamut. All because people don't want to believe.
Well, that's just it. I mean, I know we're short time here, but I don't understand. What is the violence and what is the threats? And what is that? I do not understand what that does to change it. You're going to make them shut up, but it's still out there. Yeah. Well, I don't understand the purpose or the point of threatening somebody or the kids or whatever, their families, because they disclose some information. Don't get it, but
I don't get it either. But it is what it is, and unfortunately, there are always people out there who think that they got to use, whether it's social media violence or whether it's personal violence or verbal violence, in order to try and stop somebody from talking.
Right.
And thank goodness that people like Whitley Strieber never stop talking.
Exactly. No.
Tim, you hold on for a second, because we're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Coming up, the Dave 101 and the weird news of the week.
This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear.
Cool.
Good times.
Yeah.
Good time. Oh, B. Arthur has showed up.
Yo, B.
B. Arthur. He's golden. Broken Shadow Feather, how you doing? Granola Grin, thanks for coming on in.
Nice.
Yeah,
episode 6, everybody. I've stitched everything together. Haven't started cutting. Haven't done that sort of stuff, but I have the front to back all put together. And if I don't edit anything else out, we're doing a 2-hour plus. That's how much.
I already told you how to cut that down.
I know you did, but then you've still got all the GoPro footage that I've got to put in there, so I can take those. It's going to be fantastic.
I'm always curious with the GoPro.
Yep.
Is if it catches anything when we're not there.
Well, that's just it, right? I went through it last time. I mean, we could start putting together, if anybody wants to sit and watch GoPro footage as a research project, I can put it together, but it's probably about as much fun as watching paint dry.
Until that one time happens.
That's right. No, you're 100% correct. I'm just saying, if anybody's really wants to get down to it, and if you want to do it, I'll put together the GoPro as a separate entity, and anybody can sit there and watch it.
Well, let's put it out to our audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Do we have any volunteers who wants to be a witness screener on our camera work?
Mm-hmm. I have no issue with putting that out there for everybody. None at all. I just didn't know how everybody would receive it was all. And yeah, if you're in, I'm in.
I like it.
Okay. Well,
I like it. Oh, Marie K is saying sure.
Okay.
Hit up Tim at spacedoutradio.com.
Mm-hmm.
Tim at spacedoutradio.com.
Yep.
You have to bring something to the table, like eyes and ears.
Yep.
And you got to make notes for us.
Sure. Yeah. I would be glad to send you anything that I have that's with the video that we're not in, sort of thing. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yep. That was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know. All right, kids. I'm out of here. We'll see you tomorrow night on Element 115. And yeah, we'll see you in the chat rooms too. Have a good night, everybody.
All right, buddy. Thanks for a great night.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Little Timmy James, everybody. We got like 2 minutes. Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. B. Arthur, I'll give you a call tomorrow. Seymour, that would be me and Tim, courtesy of AI. Right now, it's actually kind of impressive. Voices in the Woods has 10,428 views so far. We put that out 11 days ago, so it's averaging about 900 views a day. Thank you tonight to CS, Dutch Hank, Hippie Deidre, Christine, Sweet Donnie Cho, and Izzy Stradlin for the super chats tonight. Greatly appreciate your love and support, everybody. Remember to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so check it on out. Here we go in like 7 seconds. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. The Dave 101 and the Weird News of the Week coming up. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in. We love it when you are here. All right. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It's that time of the day, that time of the night, and that time of the week where I say to everybody to get off my lawn. It's the Dave 101.
Open up the doors, Dave. Dave. What is this? It's the Dave 101.
I can see you're really upset about this. I honestly think you ought to sit down calmly, take a stress pill, and think things over.
Leave the car! Leave the door!
It's a mess.
I'm going to step away from the usual rants and raves that I do about the UFO side, the cryptid side, the paranormal world, and go with something very personal to me. And I do this twice a year. You see, it was 7 years ago tonight. Let's say about 2 hours before showtime, 7 years ago. I got a phone call from my sister who told me that my nephew had passed away. My nephew, Bryce, I called him Stu, was 29 years old, and he passed away from a fentanyl overdose. And I'm still mad and angry about it, as anybody would be. There are a lot of families, especially in the last few years across Canada, the United States, and around the world, who have been absolutely affected by this absolutely evil narcotic. I learned a lot about fentanyl over the days after his passing because I wanted to know. And in talking to a police officer who is investigating his case, because I'll get into how he passed momentarily. Okay, he said that out of these little baggies of fentanyl that they capture, and these baggies are maybe the size of a postage stamp, you could literally cut that in quarters. And let's say there were 4 of us using this horrific stuff. You could cut that bag in 4 quarters. 3 of us could be okay, but that 1 quarter could be absolutely deadly. And it's weird because it makes you wonder, why the hell would these drug dealers kill off their clients? It doesn't make sense. Now, my nephew, okay, he was a good kid. And I know everybody says that, but he was a kid who had some demons. He was in rehab, just never seemed to be able to kind of find his way through rehab. And the funny part about it is, if you ever looked at him, you would never swear that he had substance abuse. He was in shape. He was good looking. He was one of those kids, even though he was single at 29, he was one of those kids, and I call him a kid, who literally couldn't keep the women away. Every woman that went to him flocked to him, or was around him flocked to him. He was attractive. He was confident. He was built like a brick house. And you would have never known. But that's what that stupid fentanyl does. Is it gets anybody. It doesn't care if you're rich. It doesn't care if you're poor, if you're downtrodden or live in the time of your life. Fentanyl is evil. If there is a devil on this earth, it is wrapped around fentanyl. And yes, our family lost. We totally lost that night. 29 years old is way too young to go. Now, I could turn this into a woo story because I have connected with my nephew a couple of times when he is on the other side. Okay, but I'm going to save that for another day because those are special stories. But here's one thing that I have learned about myself in the last 7 years. As the emotion starts to dissipate and the thoughts and the learning really start to help. I used to cry every time this anniversary came up, and twice a year. You can't see it on radio, but right now I'm wearing a white Nike hat of my nephew's. I wear it twice a year, on his birthday and on the day he passed. I never wear this hat otherwise. But here's what I learned. I was one of these rude, horrible people prior to this, that if I saw a junkie walking on the street that was stoned out of their mind, I'd laugh at them, and I would say horrible comments like, wow, what a waste of a life, or a waste of oxygen. Why don't they just OD and get themselves out of here? Obviously, they don't want to live if they're doing all this crap. I would use every cliche that people use. You see, where I was a jerk, okay, where I was a jerk was I forgot how to be a human being to those that are at the worst, lowest point of their life. Right? And I would be like everybody else in the downtown Vancouver when, Vancouver has a very large homeless population and drug addicted population. And I would be like every other person, ignoring them when they're begging for change, making fun of the people who are so cracked out that they could barely stand. And if they came up to me, I would say, get the hell out of here. Why don't you go get a job? But here's what I forgot. I forgot how to be human to them. And the one thing that I have learned in the last 7 years is that every one of those people, and we don't know their story that led them to that type of demise, but every one of them was either a son or daughter, a grandchild, a great-grandchild, maybe a brother, maybe a sister. Maybe they were orphaned and had to grow up a hard way. Maybe they were an uncle or an aunt. Maybe they had really good friends, but because of decisions they made in their life, they ended up where they were, extremely downtrodden. I forgot that there was actually a human soul inside these people, and I regret thinking that. You see, when my nephew had his celebration of life, I emceed the event, and from a couple of the addiction recovery houses that he was in, I actually got to meet a lot of those people. They were mainly men because he was in a men's house. All right. And I got to meet a lot of them. And the one thing that I saw in each and every one of them was a person wanting to live, fighting to live, fighting to be healthy, to get rid of the sickness of drugs. And look, some of you out there listening to this, you're going to be like, oh man, just you just can't accept that your nephew was a junkie or your nephew was whatever. No, I can accept that. He had a problem. He totally had a problem. And every day we regret as a family that we didn't do more. When he would disappear and run down onto the streets at his lowest of lows, my father would go pick him up. My father spent most of his retirement money on getting him the help that he needed. And it didn't work. But you know what? When my father told me that, and he told me the amount that he had spent on his grandson trying to get him clean, I told my dad, as my dad was crying, I said, Dad, that was money well spent. That was money well spent. You did exactly what you were supposed to do as his grandfather. And good God, I'm so proud of you. Look, anybody who has seen people who are maybe mentally ill that are on the streets, people who have nothing, we've all made fun of them. Okay? No glass houses here, man. I could be the first to tell you and stand in front of that line saying that I was one of them. But inside each and every one of those people, when you go to work in the morning, if you live in an area where there is homeless shelters, homeless people on the ground, okay, people in tent houses, the junkies who are looking, half bent over backwards because they're so high on opiates that they don't even know what they're doing. There's a soul in those bodies of those people. Yes, it's a lost soul, but it's a soul nonetheless. And our job as human beings is to try and help them. We don't do it because we're afraid to be robbed. We're afraid to be hit, violently attacked. There are a plethora of excuses that we have for our own safety, and some not for safety, but for ego, that we don't want to be helping. That's somebody else's job. And I will say this, I am guilty of it as well, where I still don't do enough to help out in my community. And I need to review that with myself to see if that's somebody that I want to be. Or if I want to do something about it and put my money where my mouth is, or my time and effort where my mouth is. There's a lot of good people who are battling their demons with drugs and alcohol right now. And look, I have no problem with somebody having a drink. I have no problem if you puff on the hippie lettuce in your spare time. Don't care. You live your life the way you want to. But if it gets out of control, do me a favor. Go get help. A lot of addicts forget that there are people who love them because they've been called every name in the book, that their self-confidence is so low that they cannot handle it. And they start to believe that they are worthless, that they have no value. My nephew was like that. He felt he didn't have value. Value is something that everyone has. Value is a more important word than what we realize, because every day we should be living to the fullest extent of what our value is. Number one, you have to value and love yourself. Number two, once you have that accomplished, you can look for value and love from everybody else. Be the person who makes a change. Be the person who makes a difference. Because the one thing that I don't want you to have to do is to live through a tragedy wondering, could I have done more? Could I have helped more? Could I have rescued him more? That's what it's all about. Remember that you are a human being. You are meant and put on this planet to love. And love is a good thing, man. It really is. We forget about it sometimes. We take it for granted mostly. But on the flip side, if you love somebody, that's the start to helping. And sometimes we, as the people who are sober, who have our stuff together, we need to be able to sit down and just maybe one day when you're walking past that homeless person who looks grubby, hasn't had a shower in a month, their hair is all over the place, their clothes are ripped, they're wearing 2 different shoes, have a conversation with them. Just go up to them and say, "Hi, I hope you don't mind, but I'd like to talk with you. Do you have time for a coffee?" Find out their story. That little conversation may go further than you think. And if you show the person value, it allows them to find the path to the proper road to being happy and healthy. That is your Dave 101.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
I am good at things, fighting and reading the news.
It's time once again for Spaced Out Radio's Weird News of the Week.
All right, I don't know how to really start with this one, but I'm going to because it made me laugh. Apparently, a group of chimpanzees in Zambia have decided to resurrect an old-fashioned trend with a surprising new twist. You see, 15 years after a female chimpanzee named Julie first stuck a blade of grass into her ear and started a new hot craze among her cohorts at the wildlife orphanage she was in, an entirely new group of chimps at the refuge have now started doing the same thing. We're actually really shocked that this is happening, Jake Brooker, a psychologist and great apes researcher at Durham University in England, said. We're even more shocked that they are doing their own spin on this by inserting grass and sticks up their bum. Yeah, you heard me. The chimps, he says, have been putting blades and grass and sticks into their rectum and ears and simply letting them dangle there for no apparent reason. Apparently, they may think it's jewelry. The study, published by the journal Behavior last week, sheds new light on how social cultural trends spread and change among our primate cousins like they do in human beings. Who knows? Maybe next a chimpanzee will get caught cheating with his staffer while shoving blades of grass up his bum. Yeah, it could happen. The researchers suspect the chimps learned the behavior from people, the ear part, that is. The 2 groups of chimps who displayed the behavior don't have any contact with each other, but they do share some of the same human caretakers. And those caretakers, the study notes, reported that they sometimes use matchsticks or blades of grass to clean their ears while working at the animal sanctuary. The chimps, Brooker says, have potentially copied it from a human who was walking by the enclosure or one of the caregivers who was just going about their daily lives. Chimpanzee influencers, they are calling this new quirk, as male chimp named Juma, who seems to have originated the grass in the butt variation. Yeah, apparently he likes it, finds it funny, attracts all the lady chimps around, saying, "Hey, look at this blade of grass in my ass." I don't know. Maybe it's something that he's doing to make himself look out there. Maybe he is an island boy for the chimps, trying to be a little bit different, just trying to make it. As an island chimp, I don't know. Could be. But there he is, walking around, grass in his ears, grass in his wahoo, trying to attract the ladies. I can tell you right now, I don't find that attractive, but hey, to each their own. My question is this. If the chimps were literally, copying their caretakers by stuffing things in their ears, why are they not putting it in their nose? Why did they choose their butthole? This is something that needs to be answered, because I think there's more to this story than what they are telling us, if you know what I mean. And maybe we don't want to know what that means. A woman who stopped at an intersection to allow a chicken to cross the road, well, she allegedly attacked another driver with bear mace for speeding by her and killing the bird. Yeah, you know this could only happen in Florida. Let's go to Key West, where 38-year-old Cynthia Sosa stopped at an intersection back on July 9th to let the chicken cross the road. Probably she wanted to see what it would do on the other side. Well, she began honking. Another driver began honking at her, saying, "Hey, what are you doing?" She's saying, "I'm letting the chicken cross the road." Well, the driver didn't care. He raced past her, ran over the chicken, and Sosa reportedly pursued the driver out of frustration about the chicken's death. Upon catching up to the stop driver, Sosa allegedly blocked the road in front of the victim's vehicle, got out of her car, and attempted to open the door. They then began fighting over the door. Cynthia wanted to teach this lady a lesson, so she pulled out her bear mace and sprayed it into the vehicle, spraying the victim directly in the face while she was seated inside, seatbelt on. Sosa reportedly fled the scene, but was eventually pulled over by police and taken into custody. She was charged with 2 counts of aggravated battery, at 1 count of burglary with assault or battery, and who knows if she'll get jail time. But at least she felt for the chicken. I don't know how you feel about that one. I want to know what happened to the lady who got abused there. Is she going to go through the charges or not? We're going to have to follow that case. Definitely. As we say goodnight to all of you. And hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brothers watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your car, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. B. Arthur, what are you still doing awake? You're golden, man. You're golden. All right. July 17, 25. Let's see. Boom. There we go. Oh, B. Arthur, if you're hanging on out, well, you know what? Then you must be really bored, man, if you're hanging out here at night. Uh-huh. Tim Mothman, give us a goatee update if you don't mind. Pocket Watch, how you doing? Night Drive, how you doing? Mama Catherine, what are you still doing awake? It's 3 o'clock in the morning, my dear. You need your beauty sleep. Thank you, Scott Rosen. Appreciate that. You went snake wrangling today? That's horrible. Why would you do that? How does that even how does one even snake wrangle? What kind of snakes? I don't get it. I don't get it. Excuse me. Two seconds, please. B to the frickin' Arthur. B to the frickin' Arthur. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Start editing this bad boy. sure this sounds okay. Of thousands of targeted media outlets, individuals, and everywhere around the world. It's simple, it's effective, and it's getting the job done. And I love it. Oh, good, good. Make an AI song out of that, Brett. B to the frickin' Arthur. B to the frickin' Arthur. Rah. Booty Mongol, I know you were laughing over that one, buddy. That was a fun story to tell. Ah, crap. Hold on. I forgot about that right off the bat. Son of a gun. Forgot to take the bullshit out. All right. So it would have been 23 minutes. This is 9:06, 9:16, 9:26. It was at 9:23. So it's not the world. And it's amazing, Bell, and now the girls have never tried to duplicate it. And it surprises me because it's proven, like outside of the 9/11 papers, the biggest New York Times seller is the Ralph Blumenthal, Leslie Kane, Helene Cooper article.
Right, right. I would believe that, yes.
And yet there was no follow-up.
Well, the new kid on the block, so to speak, who I had the honor of hanging out with at Contact in the Desert this year, 1 month, was a friend of mine, Jimmy Church. But, you know, the people that are slowly and steadily, year after year, sharing big.
I find it interesting, too, how they're all kind of moving towards Hollywood. But you know what, Dan? The one thing that I would say, and it's very weird because I look at this from a radio perspective.
Sure.
Our type of programming, our type of reporting.
Spielberg movie next year, and we have a David Grush movie. You never saw a 78-year-old man. He was doing like a horror. He's like doing a dance. You never saw a happier man. He was like the little boy at Christmas. He goes, Dan, we did it. We did it. Spielberg's disclosure. I go, okay, let's see, right? Don't get your horses.
That doesn't surprise me, Moody.
Chickens before they're hatched, Stephen. So he was thrilled. Another interesting thing is, I'm all over the place tonight, man. Bruckheimer is a very, very, very famous gun movies, Armageddon, Independence Day. He's working with Dave next year. Next year. What the hell's going on, Dave? That's pretty big.
I find it interesting, too.
We have a David Grush movie coming out next year called The Dish.
Type of reporting outlets do not see now the great...
Huge.
Okay, and it's amazing in papers. In seller article.
Right, right. I would believe that, yes.
And yet there was no follow-up.
Very nice. Humble that he meets with here in the U.S. He said, in Australian accent, but he said something that they stepped in me there. He goes, that's why I love coming to America. Very humble, sweet guy. But, he got the Grush interview before, and, I think before Grush testified, right? So, and he did Jake Barber a few months ago. That was a good one, too. Ross Coulthard is and George, there's quite a few. Jeff Mara is a friend of mine, Jimmy, and steadily hearing real information, not the BS. Can we say bullshit on your show?
Not really.
Bullshit on your show. Can we say bullshit on your show? years old. My mother asked me what's going on with this X-Files music, Little Green Men, yeah, sure, aliens, yeah, sure. But it's a lot better than it was. The Aura is a friend of mine. Jimmy Church is a friend of mine. But, patient, not the BS. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. On your show.
Not really, but
on your show.
Not really, but
on your say bullshit on your show.
Not really, but
on your show. You say bullshit.
Not really, but you did.
BS. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
All right, that's taken care of now. Now I can pay attention to you guys. All right. Numero 2. Right here. Who's on tomorrow night? Where are we here? John Kachuba, Shapeshifters tomorrow night. Oh, how fun is that going to be? Let's be serious here for a second. That one's going to be really fun.
You're listening to Spaced Out with your host,
Jay Truth Seeker, where's your girlfriend tonight? Hi, Rose Demaray. Bingo. You got that right. Jay True Seeker, be honest. Do you sing Jennifer lullabies every night before she goes to bed? Because if you are, I'm a little jealous that you're not singing me lullabies at night when I go to bed. I hated Degrassi Junior High or Degrassi High, whatever the hell they called it. One of the worst shows ever in Canadian history. I have no idea why it was so popular. That Joey Jeremiah should have got his ass kicked a bunch of times. It's a horrible show. Take it from a Canadian. I don't know a single Canadian who actually watched that show. It's horrible. It must have been a Toronto thing. That's hilarious, Hillbilly. Kanashev, Chris. Yeah, it definitely is an Ontario thing. Horrible show. Yeah, Kids in the Hall is Canadian. All right. Big thank you tonight to CS, Hippie Deidre, Sweet Donnie Cho, Izzy Stradlin, Dutch Hank, and Christine for the super chats. Appreciate the love and support tonight. John Kachuba tomorrow night on the show talking about shapeshifters. So we really appreciate if you tune us in. Don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell if you are brand new here, and tell a friend. Literally, tell a friend. And if they say no to coming over and checking out the show, just sneak on their phone and hit subscribe. We'd appreciate it. See you tomorrow night, everybody. Thank you for making this a special night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.